How Bizarre is intended for mature, open-minded audiences only. If you are easily offended, we suggest you turn this wacky shit straight off.
Chris, we're going to turn it over to you. You've had what can only be described as a bad and strange week, and you just take it wherever you want to take it.
Yeah, man. God, it's been a bizarre week, but we share everything we go through on this podcast usually, and I have had just enough time to process this, and I think it's a wacky tale, so I'm just gonna tell it. I got a phone call last week that I have been expecting for probably about 12, 13 years, and it was from the medical examiner in Pierce County that my dad had died, and they'd found him in an RV. So I was at the castle, the barcade I do side work for, when I got that call. And I swear to God, every time I see a 253 or 360 number I don't know, it's like my first thought. It's like, it could be the call. And I let it go to voicemail. And I look down at the iPhone like transcribes the voicemail or whatever, and I could see like this is the Pierce County Medical Examiner. And I was like, here we go. So I went back to the fucking storage room where they keep all the cakes back there, and I called them up, and they're like, do you know a Stephen Hart? And I was like, yes. And they're like, what's your relationship to him? And I said, I'm his son. And they said, yeah, can you verify he's 61 years old? And I was like, that like rocked me right away. I was like, oh, he was only fucking 61. I forget. He wasn't really that old, you know? So they found him. For some backstory for me and my pops, some of you know this, but I was like raised by my dad, but I had to totally cut him out of my life about 25, 26 because he was just going downhill fast. His addiction to alcohol was just wild, like unlike anything I'd ever seen. Like I have friends that are alcoholics, don't get me wrong, but I ain't never seen anyone drink like my pops did.
Yeah.
So, I had to like cut him out, and got to tell a couple quick stories. Like, he was, a deadbeat dad to my sisters and stuff. Like he never was there for them or anything. And I had developed a relationship with them after I cut him out of my life and whatnot. And so, like last Christmas. So also my dad was never responsible. Like he couldn't ever fucking like just take care of business. He couldn't do paperwork or anything like that, pay his bills on time. Like just couldn't do it. So never had like money, even though he was super talented, like a way talented contractor. He just could never manage his finances or anything. So like even 8 or 9 years ago, he reached out to me and he was like needing help. So I was sending him groceries and stuff until he started to get weird again. And I was like, I can't do this, Pops. But so the last time I really heard from him was last Christmas. I get this fucking phone call. And I can't remember if I told this on the podcast or not, but I get this fucking phone call from a woman, and she's like, hi, is this Christopher Hart? And I say, yes. And she goes, I have to deliver something to you. Like, okay. And she goes, but I can't just put it on your doorstep. I have to like hand deliver it to you. You have to be home. I'm like, can you tell me what this is about? And she's like, no, I can't. And I said, am I getting like served? What's happening here? It felt like the fucking weirdest thing. So she goes, no, it's a gift from your dad. I'm like, oh my God. Oh, here we go. And she goes, I'm a taxi driver. He's just asking me to bring it out to you. And I'm like, oh, sure. Okay. So she brings it out, and it's like a guitar. It's like the guitar he had when I was in high school. It's been sitting there and never unplayed because he can never commit to fucking learning anything. Yeah. And in the guitar case is 3 letters. And one's like the Merry Christmas, Christopher Logan. One's like a little note for Logan about a piggy bank he sent along with it. And then the 3rd letter was a 3-page whopper. And it was like page 1, like regrets. I'm so sorry for everything. I wish I would have been there when your sister died, blah, 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 blah. On and on and on. Page 2. Here's a check for $5,000. I am doing really well. I'm, live in this RV I bought and doing contract work and yada yada. My life, I'm sober. I'm going to my Olympic college to learn how to, learn computers. And I'm like, holy fucking shit! I'm reading this and I'm like, wow. He's like, I'm trying to get my life together. I'd really love a relationship with you and Logan. 3rd page, it gets a little weirder. It's like talking about money in the desert and like a safe he has. and here's the code. If anything ever happens to me, I want you to have what's in the safe. And I'm like, oh, right. Like, Jesus, so fucking weird.
Wow.
So I start a texting relationship with my dad at this point, which again was strange because my dad could never do anything with technology. He called the CD player in his truck his little record player, little record machine. Like, just technology was not his thing.
And this was a year
again,
ago. This was last Christmas.
Yeah, this was last Christmas. So I'm feeling pretty impressed though, and like I'm starting to wonder if maybe I can introduce him to Logan. You know, I don't want to do it if I know he's gonna get off the wagon
Cautious
again. Though. Like
optimism, but
totally.
he's giving you reasons to think that maybe
a
corner
like
has
sends
been
me.
turned.
Yeah, he sent me a cashier's check with money, and I've made like no shame right to my savings. Poof. He's never done like anything, and like never been able to do anything for me in his life. So, sorry, sipping my wine. Okay, so I start this texting relationship with him, and quickly things start to get a little wonky. And I'm having a really bad, rough time in my life a few months after that, and I reach out to him for some like fatherly, sage-like advice. It's kind of like a test. I want to see how he's going to handle this. Mm-hmm. So I sent him this like fucking update on my life, asking, what he would do, what his suggestions are. And he sends me back a series of random emojis. Moon, ampersand. It's just like no like correlation to anything in my story. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I send a response like, are you doing okay, Pops? Did you get my last message? Again, like moon, weird fucking sun. Like, just no. And I'm like, okay. So that was pretty much the last time I heard from him. So I get this call. I'm a little bit rocked by it, but it is what it is. So the first thing I do is I call the medical examiner, and the next morning he gives me all the details, and he's like, I'm asking him questions. I'm like, so what do I do now? Like, I've never been in this position. There's nobody else that's going to be taking care of his remains or his estate. He has a daughter that has never met him. In Minnesota, half like a brother and a sister out of state that I haven't even spoken to. One of them, my Aunt Victoria is awesome, but the other one, So it's like, I know I'm the guy that's got to do all this. So, I call the medical examiner, and he's telling me, first thing you have to do, the cops took the keys, and they're gonna, have to go meet with the cops. They'll give you the keys and stuff to get into the RV. And I'm like, okay. And I was like, so I'm gonna get in the RV, and I'll like try to find his mail and whatnot, and figure out if he had like a massive mortgage on this giant, crazy expensive RV. Or what? Like, what is it? Like, does he have an estate? My dad's never had money, So, so I'm like, I'll get in, I'll try to figure it out. And I'm having a lot of anxiety about like cleaning up where they found him, because the guy told me they weren't sure how long he's been there. And so I'm asking
the cause of death, right? You don't know that at this point still?
No, so still don't know cause of death at this point. So he said, well, and I gotta say, I had about 3 or 4 conversations with the medical examiner, and every single time they were compassionate, they were straightforward, they were helpful. They offered me advice on things that probably had nothing to do with their scope of work. So I was like, wow. And I had to tell them, I was like, you guys have been so kind every time I've had to call and make this awkward fucking conversation. I really appreciate that. But I had to ask, I was like, listen, this may sound super insensitive, but I got to get in there and clean where my dad died. And I'm really having some anxiety about that. And I want to know. And I'm like trying to ask. And he just straight up said, you just want to know if you like left a mess when he died. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, well, I have all the photos. Do you want me to pull it up and I can kind of give you a heads up? And I was like, that'd be great. So I'm like listening to him pull up the photos and describe like how they found my pops and stuff. I'm sorry, this is really more like dark, everyone, but it's just a fucking fascinating story, I think. And I do want to tell it. So apologies for anyone listening at home.
Well, it's something that people have either gone through or will at some point, something like this. So, yeah. Anyway.
So he goes, it looks like there was a little bit, he was kind of found mostly on the bed, but in kind of off in an awkward position. My dad was wheelchair bound later in his life. I never saw him like this. He had a knee problem, and it just totally consumed. He wouldn't get the leg removed. He refused to, so he just lived with this like knee he couldn't put pressure on, I guess is what I understand. So he's kind of found in and out of the bed. He was probably trying to get out. Something happened. But he said, there is some mess to be cleaned up. He's like, it's not that bad. He's like, just, gloves, maybe masks, and you'll be fine. I'm like, all right. I'll fucking figure this out. So next morning, I call and I get the funeral home on the line. Thank you to listener / friend Michael Warfield for helping me out here. He works. I don't know if he's officially an undertaker, but he works for a funeral home.
Yeah.
In this industry, and I reached out to him. I was like, bonkers question. My dad died. I don't want to talk much about it, but I just need to get him cremated. I don't want to like be fucking just bent over trying to get my dad's remains taken care of. It's an iffy sitch with my pop, anyways.
Right.
So he goes, here's what you want. He gave me a fucking place and everything. And so I call him up. They're great, really kind. It's their job, whatever. They get my dad's remains, or they were gonna get it. Next morning, I'm like trying to piece shit together. So I'm like, who am I going to call? I'm going to call this bitch that delivered that guitar to me, because she obviously knew my dad. So I call I call her up, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I've made so many phone calls. Like, I've been on the phone eternally for 4 or 5 days now. Yeah. So I call her up, and I said, listen, ma'am, I'm not sure if you remember me, but my name is Christopher Hart. And recently, I'm Stephen Hart's son. And she goes, yeah. She's like, is Steve okay? And I said, I'm sorry to tell you, he's not passed. He's found in his trailer. And she kind of has a little cry. She's like, I'm really sorry. She goes, I was the one that was kind of taking care of your dad for the last 1.5 years or so. I'd go get him his groceries. I'd take care of his trailer. I would, unfortunately, I was also the one that would buy his liquor and stuff. And I was like, okay. And I was like, listen, I get it. She started to cry about that. She's like, I enabled it. I totally enabled him. I was like, listen, you're not the first person to be in this position.
Somebody, yeah.
And this is a total pattern of my father's. He always had like one person, usually a woman, that he manipulated into being like his caregiver of sorts. So I'm like, I'm really sorry, ma'am. And then that fucking conversation within 2 minutes of me talking to her shifts. And she goes, your dad promised to sign his will over to me when he died. That's how much he cared for me. And I was like, wow. I was like, I don't even think he had a will, ma'am. And she's like, well, yeah. She goes, but he had that safe, and he promised the contents of that safe to me. I'm like, I don't know. I don't even know what's in that safe. I was like, cool. All right.
Whatever you say. Out in the desert?
Yeah. Well, and so she's like, it's in his RV.
Oh.
And she's like, and I know the combo to it too. And I was like, she's like, he'd have me get in and out. I have his debit card. I have his car keys and everything. And I'm like, okay. So I was like, well, I got to get all this stuff. And she's like, I can get you into the RV. She's like, I know how to get you in. I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like, fuck, here we go. So I said, okay, well, why don't you meet me over there? And she goes, okay. She's going to meet me over there, give me all this stuff. And at the end of that conversation, she had the gall to say, I want you to tell me you're going to give me the contents of that safe. And I said, I'm not going to tell you anything, dude. I was like, I don't know anything about this. My dad has left behind, what he hasn't. I don't know I'm not going to give some person I don't even know my dad's belongings. I was like, no. I was like, you're going to give me the car keys, the debit card. We'll meet you over there in a minute.
Yeah.
So I drive over there. I was just like fucking shocked.
Lord.
So I get over there. And that was tough to pull up to his RV. I pulled up, and I called the on my way over. I called the RV park, and I'm like, "Listen, this is an awkward conversation, but my dad's a resident there, and he just passed away." And she goes, "Oh my God, you must be Stephen Hart's son." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And she goes, I'm so sorry. She's like, I was really freaking out because I didn't know who to call about, everything, because he didn't properly fill out his emergency paperwork or whatever. So I'm like, well, here I am. I'm coming over to kind of scope things out. I'll have more information in a few days. She's really kind. She's like, oh, by the way, we wrote your dad's payment off for this month. It's $1,000 a month to keep the RV there. I was like, oh, okay, cool, thanks. So show up, meet this lady. It's really clear. I only saw her briefly a year ago on Christmas when she delivered stuff, but looking at her now, this is a woman that has lived a hard life, and at some point, if not currently, was a user. Like, just the behavior was not normal. And she comes over and she gives me a hug. She's crying. She's like, here's your dad's car keys. Here's his bank account card, and I'm like, thank you. And she goes, here's how we can get into the trailer. And she walks over to the trailer and like pulls one of the levers that is near one of the storage compartments, and it's locked. And she goes, oh my, she's like, this is never locked. And I was like, yeah, cops locked like this thing up tight when they left. They don't,
Her trick for getting in the RV was using the handle.
Well, it was like a different compartment door. It was like a weird pop-out door or something. Gotcha. I don't know.
Okay.
So She goes, I can't get you into the RV. I'm really sorry. And I was like, that's okay. I was like thanks anyways. And she goes, your dad like still owed me a little bit for groceries and stuff. And I was like, listen,
Jesus,
I'll take
woman.
care of you once and then she was like, oh, I'm moving to Oregon in a couple weeks. I really could use that sandblaster over there that your dad has. And I was like, listen, I was like, listen, I can't be doing this right now. I was like mourning my dad still.
Yeah, we're
I
not
was like, I'll
doing
be
a
in contact,
fireside out
lady.
the trunk sale.
Oh, it was like I couldn't believe how vulture she was about stuff. Even moments after I told he was dead, I was like, wow.
Desperation.
So it's crazy. So I kind of scoped it out. I peeked in the RV and I could see both, pictures of myself on the wall, and if I got to the right angle, I could see, the bed where he died and stuff. So that was rough. I was like really starting to feel that everything felt like my dad. Like
Well,
I got
nothing
into
about
the truck.
this is normal.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Like there are, I mean, I guess what's normal, but this is not 100% of this has been very, very strange.
Yeah, and this is really commonplace for my pops. Like nothing can be normal. Everything is some mystery to be unwrapped. And like my dad was a fucking charming, charismatic dude. Like nobody that met him didn't love him and have. It was like a part of this felt a bit like the movie Big Fish, just uncovering stories for the last week and a half of my pops in his life, his last fucking 10 years of his life. It's been really bizarre. But so I kind of scoped out everything I could at the trailer and said, well, I'll get the keys tomorrow, and I'm coming here by myself tomorrow, and I'm just going to fucking do it. I'm going to get in there. I'm going to clean that bed. I'm going to throw it away. I'm going to get the truck running and just run to the dump with everything, and I can clean that spot where my dad died and just be done with that. I'm going to fucking do it. It's like, first, I know it sounds terrible, but I felt like nobody else is going to do it. I kind of have to do it. I felt obligated to in this weird way. So very difficult. I was prepping myself for basically the most difficult thing I think I've ever had to do. I get up in the morning, get all my cleaning supplies. I go to the police station, meet with the cop. He comes out with the fucking folder, sits down. Nice guy. Again, everyone's super compassionate, professional, nice. He tells me, well, here's the deal. Your dad, when we sealed up, the trailer, the RV, he had a lot of prescription medication, and we had to confiscate that and destroy it. And I was like, I don't care. Cool. He's like, that may be why, you haven't heard, because toxicology can take up to 3 months to get results. So I probably may not know the cause of his death for 3 months, but I do know he was on some prescription meds and he was a heavy drinker. So that combo doesn't already look good, Sure. Not surprising, not shocked. He's like, there's the matter of the firearm. And I was like, okay, not shocked again. He had a gun. He's like, yeah, he had a Beretta. I can either release that to you or we can destroy it. And I said, I'm not even sure how to process that part yet. He goes, if you want it, I have to give you like a mental evaluation and a background check. And I'm like, I really could give two shits about the gun right now. I was like, I just want to get in and clean that trailer. And he goes, unfortunately, I cannot give you the keys to the trailer. And I'm like, what? And he goes, I cannot give you the keys because at this point it's considered basically his estate. And even though you are his son and probably his only heir to the stuff, he's like, it has to go. It's a liability if I just give it over, because if there's like a long lost other sibling or brother that wants a piece of this or something like that, then we're liable. If there's any value in any of his estate, we're liable for giving you those keys. So I'm like totally in shock because my whole day has been.
You've braced yourself up.
Do this.
You got ready. You're finally there.
And I was like, there's no way you're telling me I can't go clean up after my pops? Like, I can't go do that right now? And he goes, I'm really sorry. He's like, I know it seems a little backwards. So I can't, as it stands right now, he's being cremated today, or he has been already. And I'll get a death certificate in 2.5 to 3 weeks. And then I have to go possibly through a probation court before I can get in his trailer at all to clean up after him. And I am like at a loss about that. It's really surprising.
When I asked you shared some of the details with me. And that's when I asked you, it's like, why has this all fallen? I mean, you've kind of explained why it's fallen to you, and you've explained why you feel for one reason or another, and there's no need to even try to explain it. It's just how you feel that, you want to do it. You want to clean up all of the loose ends best you can. But I'm confused as to like how much of this is just going to be a fucking hassle to do
So I'm trying to find
just
out.
something that you feel like is the right thing to do versus
Yeah.
like it's not like you're trying to this isn't a real estate.
Well,
This
here's the
isn't like a
thing.
typical thing.
That's what I'm confused about, because in a part of me, if there wasn't a possibility, like my dad, like I said, never done almost anything for me in my adult life, but he's living in an RV that's worth $90,000.
Yeah.
He's got a truck,
It surprised me that
like
he was paying $1,000 a month.
yeah,
That's
that
not
lady.
cheap.
I he's got a motorcycle with a sidecar, like a brand new Suzuki motorcycle. So like I got
You
all the
need to
VINs for
inherit
these
that
things and
shit.
stuff. So I'm
I
like,
wouldn't be
but
in your
just things
buddy
like
pod.
money's not that big of a deal to me. Like I'm doing okay. I'm making ends meet as a single dad right now. I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
fine, you know? But like the thought of like my dad's, if he did leave something and it going to like some jack off
Yeah,
as
who
over
will
me.
just sell it immediately, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it made me feel really shitty. So I was like, if there is something, I want to get what's coming to me from my dad.
of
Like he would
course.
not have wanted it any other way. So I don't know. Like it's just been a wacky transition. And let me tell you, I've learned more about this process than I thought there was to learn. If you have anything in your life that you value leaving to somebody else at all, get a fucking will made.
Yeah.
I don't care. Get a will made, because without a will, I couldn't even get into my dad's RV. Like they won't let me into his RV. I just couldn't believe that. So as far as I can tell, I will get the death certificate in 3 weeks. And then at that point I can tell the cops I have the death certificate, and they're going to ask me to take it to the court to go into probate court. And the probate court has to approve me as the person that can take the keys and everything else.
Okay.
And also here's another weird caveat, like as I'm understanding it, he has so many debts. My dad was not like good with
That's what I
anything.
was
Medical,
wondering.
child support.
Tell me you don't inherit those.
No, I don't inherit those, but I do know that like anything that he has of value will go towards debts before it can go to heirs. So again, it comes back to like, do I even bother?
Yeah.
Like, do I pay this $1,000 a month for this fucking RV spot, to keep this thing afloat? I'm trying to find out.
Oh,
I'm
that's
trying to, like,
that's down to you. Of course it would be.
I don't know who else would do it unless they write it off. Like they already wrote 1 month off. So it's just wild, right?
Damn.
So like, again, so I've been like kind of so that was a few days back. Like on Monday was when the cops told me, this is what, is it Thursday? It's been kind of a blur. This was Monday morning that I was like geared up for the toughest day of my life and was told, and we're going to put a hold on that indefinitely. In limbo. So I've had like 2 days of nothing but phone calls trying to uncover mysteries, find fucking storage unit that he's got a bunch of my childhood shit in somewhere. I don't know. I can't get his mail, so I can't fucking find out where. Calling banks. I finally got his social security number, so I'm able to close some things out and like get some leverage. I had to write this. I felt like it was important to put a little thing up on Facebook. It was like the obit style of thing. And let me tell you, I wrote that 5 or 6 times. And each time was a little less angry. It started pretty angry and was a bit more shining the light on who really was my father. But then it felt mean, like last fucking words are all his failures. And so I tried to make it as nice and cheery as possible and list his accomplishments and who he was. And there were many things that were really great about my dad. Wonderful fucking things, but he just couldn't keep it together. Couldn't do it.
Well, it was interesting to see the response that post got, because I knew, obviously anyone that's listened to the show knows that you've talked about him before. Not father of the year, not necessarily a terrible human being, but left a lot to be desired. And you're filtered. And that was, I think, the right call. Your filtered version of his obituary that you posted, while therapeutic in doing it, I was wondering how it made you feel to see everyone giving such loving tributes. They didn't know him, of course, and they're supporting you, but they're saying things about him as if he was sort of this guiding light in your life. I was curious how that was landing on you.
It made me angry. It makes me upset because there are some people that do know him. They're like, yeah, we know. We know how your pops was. And then there are the people that are like, but I'm angry not at these people because they're just trying to say something nice.
Of
You know what I
course.
mean? They're seeing what looks like maybe a loving tribute with a few weird kind of dark jibes in it. That's kind of how I wrote it. I felt and just trying to say like the comforting nice thing. Sorry for your loss. You seem really cool, and he was really fucking cool. He was the coolest fucking guy, but he just was belligerent,
but didn't necessarily deserve all those trips. I don't know. It was a weird thing for me. I've tried to put myself in a lot of this situation. As you know, I've dealt with a lot of different kind of deaths. I've never dealt with anything remotely like this. Like I felt like I had nothing to offer you except checking in. Usually when someone's going through a death, it's like, let me offer what I can in terms of, you know, I never approach it and, I know exactly how you feel. I've gone through this. You never know exactly how somebody feels, of course, and there's no such thing as the same experience in life or death. But I really was at a loss with this one. I felt like all I could do was go, huh. And it was just like, this is interesting. But the other thing about all that mystery and all the onion skins that you've had to peel back, have you had time to just sit with it and process, or is it just still kind of in the midst of just paperwork and figuring out what the fuck, like all the logistics?
You know, my work has been really, really kind to me during this time. They gave me a week off to kind of figure it out, and sent me a fucking giant bouquet of flowers, and even offered to pay like some of the funeral expense for my pops. It was really, really, I mean, like that kind of kindness was just, it was so what I needed at that moment. And I had a few people, including you, like I had 3 people that were checking on me regularly. Bridget was with me almost every day, just kind of to be there. She came with me to the trailer to meet Crazy Bitch, even that type of thing.
Good. Yeah, but that's nice to have.
You know, it was, and she offered to help clean too, and I said no. I think it's got to be me. Yeah, you know, the last 3 days I've had at home, particularly yesterday, I did a lot of crying. I was angry for a bit. It's weird I know there's these stages you're supposed to be going through, and I feel like I'm going through them out of order, but I was so consumed for the first 5 or 6 days with trying to solve what had happened and get a fucking idea of what I was stepping into and what my responsibilities were for his remains and whatnot, that I didn't really have time to do that, to process. And I definitely started going through that for sure. I'm having a lot of memories and a lot of feelings. And I love my dad a lot. You know, I could loved him so much I had to walk away.
Well, there's no order. I know what you're referring to, but there really is no order, and there are stages. There are absolutely stages, but they can cycle back. You can think that you're all the way through it, and then, you know, it's just like anything else that you got to process. You'll go through it how you have to go through it. And I always say there's no wrong way to grieve or mourn as long as you're not hurting yourself or hurting anybody else. You know, there's no right or wrong way to do it. The
worst part about the whole thing is that the cops are making you prolong it. Like
honestly,
you know, that
sounds like everyone's hands are just kind of tied. It's Chris makes a good point. It's like one last thing that his dad really should have focused on doing the paperwork for is just making it an easier process for the people to pick up the pieces.
I have a
you got a will? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I have an executive to my estate, like with my mom. But like, I told her what I wanted to do with everything. You know,
I've got a sort of an addendum to my life insurance policy that I don't know how that would hold up, and
no, it wouldn't.
I suppose it would all come down to. I mean, right now Leah still owns half this house, so everything would go to her. Which would be like one last bitch slap. Like, oh, hey, deal with all Ron shit. You can sell my records. I got a pretty decent record collection. The rest of this is just junk. I mean, let's be honest. It's all art supplies.
Yeah.
And
I gotta be honest, that kind of thing has been weighing heavily on me, like what I leave behind. I'm definitely, me and Bridget both agreed we're having wills drawn up because it's like, it's just not, like, the thought of Logan not getting anything I worked hard to leave behind for him really bothers me. And like, this can happen. Like, even my cousin reached out 'cause she lost her dad last year, and I went to his funeral on the way to Lollapalooza. I remember it was 2 years ago, I guess at this point. 3 years? Jesus Christ, we're old.
3.
When I was literally on the way, I stopped at his funeral. But she had to do the same thing. She had to go to probate court, and he had a will in place. He was really organized. It's scary. It's like I had no idea it was going to be this fucking troublesome just to get in and clean my dad's RV. And it was like, it was a nice RV and a nice lot and stuff. It was his permanent residence. It wasn't like he was on the side. When I first got the call, I thought maybe he'd been found like on the side of the fucking road in an RV. That's the way it was presented to me. I was like,
Yeah, where was he getting
anyways.
money?
So that's what I'm trying to fucking unlock. The crazy lady was able to tell me that he was getting disability of sorts.
Can we call her Mary? I feel like she's a Mary.
Mary told me that he was getting some kind of disability or L&I or something. My dad had injuries from when he was a contractor that I think he was trying to settle, but he never could get his shit together. So I wonder if he got some kind of settlement, like a small one, enough to fucking buy his.
Oh, you mean like a whole payout? Yeah.
Sometimes she said with like my brother is they'll instead of giving him lump sum through L&I, they'll actually give him a pension. What that means is he basically gets a paycheck for the rest.
Home run. Then you wouldn't blow it.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you.
Able to collect Social Security.
Oh, okay.
Even if it's just a stack of old photos, you'll never see it.
That's the thing. There could just be a. But you would get that anyway, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know, man. I look in and I see photos on the wall and shit of me as a kid. Like, it was wild,
Well, who else would it go to is like the thing. It's like Mary's not going to get it, right? Like Mary's not going to to show up to the probate thing, judging from what you've told me.
I have to have a conversation with my sis about this still. Like, I reached out to her and told her what happened, and we've been in communication about it, but we haven't talked about. I mean, again, I was shocked he may have any estate at all. I'm sure she wasn't even thinking, what did Dad leave us? My dad I've never met.
If it was a pair of old boots, you'd still have to go through some sort of process. Very strange.
Yeah.
So your sister that passed away a few years ago in the car accident, is this her real dad?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know you have a splintered family, so I've lost track of.
Oh, it's okay. It's very small. Yeah. So I still have one sister from that was close to the sister that passed in Minnesota. She's wonderful, but we kind of lost touch ever since Allison died. She's had a hard time with communication. Yeah. And so we've drifted apart a bit, but we've been trying to reconnect as of late. So she's really great. So we'll work it out, whatever it is.
Yeah.
She definitely, it is what it is. Everything's fucking strange. But hey, man, I really appreciate everyone listening to this. It's been just a bonkers week for me. And I'm going to share that, Katie reached out to me about her record pick, and she was like, God, I feel like maybe I shared too much. And I've always kind of wanted this intimate relationship with our listeners because we share so much, right? Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about when one of my exes left me, she wrote on the mirror. She wrote on the mirror in fucking lipstick, big giant letters, right? The night she left. Nothing builds intimacy like shared vulnerability. And that's a quote that stayed with me for a long time for some reason. And it's true. Like, you share these intimate moments that make you vulnerable, and you are more intimate than you've ever been with, your friends and this little community.
So the armor down, and that's the only way you can penetrate. Bad choice of words, I suppose, but you get my meaning. And there's no, I mean, God, Katie's been listening long enough, I would hope at this point, to know that, is there anything that we haven't eventually got around to sharing? Now, some of it has been delayed. I didn't talk about my divorce in any kind of detail until quite a bit after those wounds had healed. And even then, it was guarded until years later. But good Lord, from that to horrible things that happened to us, embarrassing things in closets, on the sidewalks, crimes we've committed that may or may not have reached the statute of limitation. Alleged. Thank you, Lyle. So yeah, there's no way that you guys, the listeners, could have possibly overshared. It's exactly what we've been missing from the equation. And we will be ending tonight's show talking about your album picks, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yes.
And I'm curious, I guess at this point, there's nothing else to say except I'm sorry you're going through this. I'm sorry you had such a rough go, even when your dad was alive. I mean, that it's just not a good, easy way to grow up, and you had already grown up in a lot of ways. But our relationships with our parents are strange, even when they're difficult or strained or estranged, or even people that I know that were adopted and they never met their parents. There's just this odd desire to be connected or stay connected. Or, I mean, how can you really ever? It's one thing to say, well, I got to write this person off because they're not good for me, and you can do that on paper, but you can't really write them off. They're still out there. They're still somewhere in the back of your head. And then you get a phone call like this, and yeah, I can only imagine how many things this has stirred up and will continue to stir up. But hang in there. You've got people that, it sounds like you've got a good support group, and I'm glad that your experience in working with even strangers in this particular situation seems to have been a kind and soft experience when it could have been otherwise. Sometimes people, their bedside manner with such things, especially if they're in an industry like talking to doctors and nurses, or even some people at certain funeral homes, they don't necessarily mean to have a cold demeanor, but they're just, this is not a big deal to them. This is their job. This is what they do. And some of them are better at it than others. So I'm glad that you have had a good experience. And
me too. Yeah. And thank you.
I feel that your dad, I feel it's like his past, it's, I had problems with alcohol. If you didn't notice, drinking like a half a fifth a night.
Yeah.
And it was all, through pain, being physical pain, like a torn rotocuff. I'd sit there and drink the pain away, and God knows that I could have ended up in the same way, drinking myself to death on pain pills,
Yeah.
It's kind of always, and not the drinking part, but you always kind of reminded me of my pop, like some of your qualities. And I say qualities, and I mean that, like not the drinking stuff, but I've always kind of thought that.
Yeah, it's a hard life to live.
For
like,
sure.
Yeah.
It'll age you fast. So,
yeah.
Oh, that's one thing when I was doing the a couple of things about the cremation real fast. When I was doing the thing, they like asked me for a recent photo of my dad, and I was like, all I've got is this one of him with my grandfather, but it was like 20 years ago, and I sent it over, and they were like, and my grandfather was like 40 years older than my dad in this photo. They were like, can you tell us who your dad is in the photo? And I'm like, oh my God, he aged so much and I don't even know it. Like, he couldn't tell if it was the old man or my fucking dad.
Wow.
Which shocked me. But then also, I hadn't seen my dad in a bit, and they called me in a panic, and they were like, we're really sorry. I just found out, but we're going to have to put your dad in one of the bigger boxes that's sturdy. Like, you have to buy this $45 cardboard box to get him cremated in. And he wouldn't, they tried to put him in it and he wouldn't fit. So they had to buy like a $400 fucking box to put him in to have him cremated. Yeah, it's nuts, man. And I mean, like all this shit, like I'm saying, like this stuff was a fucking eye opener to me, and that's part of the reason I wanted to share it, so y'all can be ready and get your fucking wills in place and stuff, because we all gonna die.
It is a good reminder. I mean, who thinks about it until it's either too late, or you're at the end of you're looking at some sort of terminal situation. A lot of us don't ever even get that. We just die, and then it is a good reminder that it's not about you. It's about everybody you care about on the other side of, on top of having to mourn losing you.
Exactly.
Don't give them the shaft with what they're left with. You go ahead, Lau.
Well, I was going to say at 44, I never would have thought anything of getting any kind of like will or living will done.
Get it.
Solid as a rock, healthy as can be. What could go wrong?
Then I got cancer. Well, it was
then
something
you peed Coca-Cola and everything changed. That's how fast. I mean, that. And again, that's well, obviously, number one, you're alive, but that, an illness is something that a lot of us will face, but a lot of us don't even get like that much of a wake up call. It's just like a fucking satellite falling on your head is how fast most people seem to die. So it's just something we don't fucking think about. So I think that is a very good thing to remind people of, and something I should definitely get on. Like, someone's got to get my fucking records, man. I have a kick-ass record.
Coyote's going to get them.
A lot of records.
There's a few in there that deserve that. What's that?
slowly raise his hand.
Yeah, that's the only thing anyone would be fighting.
Pretty fast.
And if Comet's still alive, then people might be fighting over her. But other than that, yeah, it's kind of just all neat junk. But it is junk. I have built a kingdom of neat junk. Right. Anyway, well, keep us posted. And yeah, both on the air and off, of course. And that goes for future support down the road. But where should we go? We're at about 40 minutes here, and I've got nothing. I didn't bring anything because I knew that we would be talking about this, and I figured it would be the bulk of the show. Did you throw together a weird triv?
I sure did, Ron. And to keep it light and to maybe change things up, I made it lighthearted. It's all about death.
Hey, there's no way to process than right on through.
Random facts about death and
nice.
Fascinating stuff. I got. It's a little bit longer because there's some true false in there, so I thought that'd be kind of fun.
Great.
Give me just a sec to get prepped.
Well, should we take a quick recess because we're going to go right into our album, and I think the way we should do it, rather than just go 1, 2, 3 down our list here, why don't we just pick? I think we'll start with Jimi Hendrix, and then we'll all three weigh in on it. Then we'll move on to Abby's pick. We'll all three weigh on it, and then we'll end with Katie's. I think that might be the best way to do it. All right, 2 and 2. Okay. We'll be right back.
We do.
Well, I didn't tell you guys about tomorrow. I gotta find out about. I gotta go see my cardiologist at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock in the morning, and hopefully get off these blood thinners.
Yeah. Well,
so I go right
posted about that too.
Yeah, please let us know, man.
Well, I want to know if the heart surgery worked or
not. That's what
course,
this is about. Is you getting the?
Yeah,
I mean, this is when we'll know. But you haven't gone into AFib, right?
I have not.
Hard to imagine it not having worked, but I guess that's not the full picture. So
well, and the thing is too is my blood pressure is like really low. Even right now, it's in the 70s. Before it'd be like in the 90s.
Your BPM. Oh yeah, 70s, great.
Okay, are you guys ready for some weird, strange triv that might get me looking for a new gig?
You're fired, huh?
Okay, let's see. Tonight, John Mark will be going first, and you are going to be playing for Cynthia Peterson.
All right.
Ronster, you're playing for our good pal Denny Kish.
All right, Denny. So
you're gonna
what I mean to say, sorry, Denny. People have started just like straight up fucking, hey, did I win or did I get Ron? Who sent you that message?
that was James Shepard, who I don't know if has actually listened to the episode yet. And let me tell you, you have 30 days, bro. So you better get on it.
Yeah.
No, he did. I just need to get his address. I just need to message him back.
Oh, awesome. Okay, cool. All right. And Lyle's playing for the lovely TJ. I think I said that, but just to be case. Just to be case.
Just to be case.
All right.
Better to be case than lower. Oh, that was better in my head.
Okay, I got 8 questions for you. Some are true, false. It won't take too long to get through them here. All about death or dying. All right. Question 1, gentlemen. As your body dies, what is the last sense to leave you? Is it your hearing, smell, your touch, or sight? John Mark.
The last one to leave you.
The very last one.
Okay.
Wow, why do I not know this? I think that this is something that I should know.
Maybe you do.
But I'm gonna maybe I do, but I'm gonna guess sight.
Sight. Okay, I'll put you down for a D, John Mark. Okay, Ronster.
Boy, how would they test this? This reminds me of that guy that was so obsessed with how much you can think and see and smell or say after you're like cleanly beheaded.
I remember this.
I mean, who is that? This is an urban legend, right? I think we looked it up, and it was a real story. Sure. And the dude just got his own fucking head cut off so he could know. And I think the thing was he blinked. They counted how many times he blinked, and it was like 13.
Yeah. Huh.
That has me thinking about
something crazy.
Who's going next?
Yeah, that was. You are. So hearing, smell, touch, or sight. a sense to
I
leave
feel
you.
like I'm gonna. The way I'm thinking about it is how much energy it would take. I feel like sight, for some reason, might take the most energy.
Is that the last to leave?
And as it's flowing,
First.
so it's so the eyes would go first, and then I'm guessing I'm trying to reverse engineer what would. I feel like oddly enough, I feel like smell would take more energy than hearing. I'm gonna say that this has to be a hypothesis, but I'm gonna say hearing.
Okay, I'll put you down for an A
How would you
hearing.
even know?
Guys, you guys are all wrong.
Hmm.
You know what it is?
What is it?
What?
It's the boner, man.
Was that on
That's
there?
what don't you know when you
With the
die, you
double
rage
D.
hard up? Mm.
That's so funny. I actually have a boner question in here later for you, big guy.
Oh, well, think about So that's not an answer. Damn it.
He's one tip ahead.
Oh, man. Okay, well, I'll tell you how I felt. The first thing you go would probably be your hearing. You'd hear a little buzzing in your ear, a little ringing, key, and then gone. And then slowly, your vision would fade
Strange thought.
as the sense of your feeling for touch, and your smell would probably fall because you'd have tears crying. No, not
No.
So that would go first, and I would say,
Crying at your own death.
Bacon.
yeah,
The last thing.
You're like,
Bacon.
oh.
and
Or you
I
smell
think it'd be
yourself shit in your
touch.
pants. you smell your own death fart. That'd be depressing.
I think it'd be touch. It feels like it'd be touch, and I'm just feeling around on this.
I'm dying to know how
So
they
it's
would
a-
even guess.
So are you going with touch, big guy? Or are
I
you
am.
zagging?
I am. No, I am.
That's
Touch.
okay. These are all really good guesses, and I do have a tiny bit of information on it when I go over the answers here. Okay, question 2. Embalming corpses became much more popular in common practice after this famous person was embalmed. Became much more into touch, if you will.
King Tut.
Was it Albert Einstein,
Ooh, he's a smart fella.
Abe Lincoln,
Hmm.
Harry Houdini,
God, for some reason
or
he was in
John,
my head.
or John Lennon?
Imagine. Just imagine. God, is embalming that new? Well, obviously, like Lyle said, there were embalming techniques, but embalming with like embalming fluid. Yeah, interesting. John Mark, or are you bold?
So who was the first one?
Albert Einstein,
Einstein.
Abe Lincoln, Harry Houdini, or John Lennon?
Did Abe Lincoln actually have wooden teeth? Is that a true thing?
I always heard that about
George
Washington, but I think that it's kind of true.
It's one of those half-true things.
Yeah, he definitely had wonky false teeth. Lots of people did, but I don't think they were all wood.
What wasn't it made of
so-
like
dentures that
whale
were
bones or something?
Other teeth?
What?
Well penis.
So the question was after
Lyle,
this
Lyle
person.
would be right. They did actually make dentures from other people's teeth, like dead people's teeth or something.
After this person was embalmed, it became more of a thing to happen.
Yeah,
Well, if it's
way
good
more
enough
common
for Lincoln.
practice. Exactly.
I'd like to be preserved for 70 years.
Jeez.
I have an apple pie.
I'm gonna. This is a tough one because it's like.
I have one guess, and it's for a weird reason.
Interesting.
Ow.
I'm gonna go with Houdini.
Okay, I'm gonna put you down for C. Harry fucking
Boy,
Houdini.
It's interesting because I feel like the timeline might be more correct for him, and he was in my head, but the reason I'm going to go with Einstein is because it was just the anniversary of his death, I think. I saw that, so I'm wondering if maybe that popped up. It's like I said, it's a weird reason to guess it, but I don't know.
It's a pretty good reason actually. Let's see.
But Houdini was in my head. We'll see.
I learned some really fucked up shit on the History Channel the other day about new eugenics and weird shit that it blew my fucking mind. And all had to deal with Penn State and like all the kids that were sent there. They're all
Oh, Jesus.
The R word we can't really say this time. They were all, handicapped, needed help.
Well, there are other ways of saying it.
But anyway, they would bring them in there and like basically just make them go to waste. They would go in with the cognition of being able to feed themselves and bathing themselves and clothing themselves to 6 months just being wastoids. It was just horrible. And they would euthanize them. And it was not longer than that the Nazis took over in Europe and started their own euthanasias, but we were the first ones to do it with our unruly. I was like,
listen,
what?
We like to be number one here because over here in the States, we get her done. I don't know if you over there in the rest of the world realize it, but over here, we get her done. I see a lot of that's not getting done on your side of the pond over there. That's horrifying. By the way, you said History Channel. Do you still have TV proper, Lyle?
I have in dialysis. I do.
It's interesting because I did my letter from the editor page in the brand new Comet that just came out. I was kind of talking about how we don't watch TV together like we used to, except with live sports. And we have no reason to talk about live sports right now. We're just going to move right on. But I was like, God, it doesn't seem like Lyle would still have TV.
Chris, what was number 4?
John Lennon.
John Lennon.
Imagine there's no writing.
Well, there was a dictator that I think was embalmed that was part of that era. That's why
I had dictator for a while, but it cleared up.
Shit. Did you take your dick out of the tater? Is that what it was?
Where you going with, Lyle?
Twice baked.
I call that a twice baked up in here.
Well, hell, now I'm going to have to go with somebody else. I thought it was a different dictator from the 20s. Lenin. Stalin.
Oh,
Lenin.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
interesting. He's still preserved. He's still on display.
And that's what I was thinking of. I'm going to have to go with, I guess Einstein. It seems like that is that time of the, era.
It's tough. They're all pretty close. I think Lincoln was first, then Einie, and then Houdini, then Einie. I don't know. I don't really know what order that goes in. I remember when I saw the anniversary of Einstein's death that I was surprised that he died that long ago. He died in the 50s. I didn't realize it was that long ago.
Okay. Question 3 is true or false. True or false? That's right. True or false, guys? One or the other. Okay. On average, guys, true or false? On average, nearly 250,000 people die every single day globally. True or false?
Are we texting you, or are we just?
We're gonna just say it out loud in the same order. What are you gonna go with, John Mark?
I'm just trying to do some quick math here.
Yeah, do it slow. So I'm doing the same math, and Lyle and I were in remedial math, so you got a heads up here.
Is this just Australia?
I'm gonna say, you know what? I'm gonna say that's true. Wait, every day?
Yep.
Every day or every hour?
Every day.
In the whole world.
Excuse me, 250,000, 250,000 every single day in the whole world. True or false?
Let's see here. Well, I'll say true.
Okay.
I have no reason to think otherwise, so I got to go true. Yeah.
Okay.
It sounds about right.
There's no more stable entity in this universe than death and taxes, so I would say true.
Okay. All right. Question 4, true or false? Men who are hanged often get a death erection known as rigor erectus.
Yeah.
Boing. On display. Like a dick pinata in front of an entire crowd of onlookers.
John Mark, what are you going to go with here, Bubba?
I'm going to say true.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I feel like that's 100% true. I think that's true with a lot of... that maybe that's tied to autoerotic asphyxiation. Heightened effect, heightened boner.
Making this family game, Lyle?
I would say, let me show you something I'm really proud of.
No hanging required.
It hangs itself, if you know what I'm saying.
Hang loose. No, not in his place. No.
But what if it's a trick? God damn. I want to say that some deaths don't cause boners.
Well, specifically hanging.
I would
Specifically
believe that some
hanging,
deaths
though.
don't cause
It's
boners.
specifically hanging. Would that actually give you a boner? Whoa. Yeah, let's go. We know famous people that do it all the time. That
Yeah.
Autoerotic?
well, but Kane, what's his name?
Kane. You're thinking of fucking. Oh my God. What kind of David
the
Carradine?
guy that died?
Bill.
Bill. Yeah, well, that is how he died. Yeah, Richard John. No,
David
Carradine.
Carradine.
David Carradine.
Maybe when without kink shaming, maybe that was the only way you could get it up.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's appropriate to try to reverse it.
Probably not.
Like, I mean, you would need. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a weird thing because it seems like it would cut off your circulation, but maybe
It's a hard
You
bump.
don't need your head circulation to get a boner. maybe cutting off your head's circulation, which is hogging all that blood flow,
Right to the
sends it
wiener.
all downstairs, and maybe reverse engineering was the right way to go. But I think we're all true here anyway, right?
Solid truths is what I'm hearing. Solid truths. Okay, we'll see. Question 5: True or false? Your hair and nails continue to grow after your death.
True.
John Marco's true.
Well, I've always heard that's true, but I'm tempted to go false just to see if this is some sort of trick.
Interesting.
And I feel like I've answered a lot like John Mark, so maybe I'm going to just mix it up here. I'm going to go false. I've always heard that was true, but
Have
I've
you
heard a
ever
lot of things that are
heard-
true that pan out not to be. Sorry, Lau, go.
Have you ever heard of a dead ringer?
Mm-hmm.
We all have. Do you know where that comes from?
Well, there's a couple of stories. I can't remember which one is the actual one, but the one that I always remembered was the vampire one, right? Like there's the vampire one, but then there's also a fear of being buried alive.
They used to bury people in coffins, and some people might have been like misjudged on their death. You know,
Yeah.
like you're not really
quite
dead.
dead. I'm getting better. Wait, where am I?
Not you're dead.
Not dead yet.
Fucking nightmare.
But they would tow a rope to the big toe, and it would go all the way up to ground level and over a little twig thing to a bell. And
Saved by the Bell.
It is
That's where Saved by
comforting.
the Bell came from, right?
That's where Saved by the Bell came from, yeah, I think.
you would hear that ding 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 and
Jingle, jingle, jingle.
Can you imagine
grab
walking
that.
through a cemetery? Be a great prank. In like an old cemetery to just have a little bell
Oh
ring
my
over
God.
somebody's grave.
Enough people know that that would be a great
Oh my
prank.
God, how long has he been down there?
Okay. All right. So
There was also a deal where vampires were expected to. They would dig people up, and they would notice that they had shifted. Their nails were longer, and their hair was a little longer,
Yeah.
and that they would take their hearts, or they would take their bodies and then just form it into like a crucifix and rebury them.
Just twist him into a cross.
There would be bones. There'd be bones and whatnot, and they would just take and desecrate their bodies, and
We did do a lot of dumbass science. We did a lot of what seems like redneck science, really. It reminds me of my ancestors, like hillbilly science. Like, well, just throw a tater down there. Who knows? Maybe that'll keep their soul from razzing up. We can't know until we try it.
Stuff like that, or stakes to the heart, kind of whatever. But yeah,
So I tied an onion to my belt, which was the style at the time.
Ka-ting, 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 ka-ting. So where are you going, Lau? What did you go?
Yeah.
very much true.
Yeah, I'm the only false on that. I feel like that was a dumb move, but I'm sticking by it.
We'll
Well,
see.
it might be false, and it just might be the skin and everything retracting back, and
Oh,
the hair
interesting.
follicles just
That's true. That's like when you shave your pubes, your dick looks bigger.
right.
It's not, but you pulled everything else back.
Oh, what? I gotta go, guys.
Too far.
Yeah.
Fits into my week.
Hello, you. Look at that.
Okay, well,
Question 6: True or false? On average, left-handed people tend to live 3 years less than right-handed people.
That's true.
Well,
John
Southpaw.
Mark.
We got 2 Southpaws and 2. Wait, John Mark, are
I'm a
you
Southpaw too.
I know.
As a lefty, I'm going to say that's false.
I'm the only right-hander.
Is that wild? Yeah.
I am severely outgunned. Finger gunned.
That's crazy.
By the left hand.
I didn't realize that we were all left-handed.
That does seem a little odd to have
It's a
75% of your group.
The statistics don't
Southpaws. You guys are slaying the curve.
Don't work out. The math doesn't add up.
Well, this time I have to go with you guys. I think it's fair, right? You're all Southpaws. Let me answer last, and I'm just gonna go with. Okay. I'm just gonna go with group.
I'm gonna say that it's false, and I'm gonna say because we left-handers we think for ourselves, while the right-handers are so stressed out being told what to do that they stress out, and that's why they don't live as long.
Take a few years off.
So you think you're thinking not only is that false, but we live longer, is what you're saying. We've got an edge.
And then I'm going to die just a sketch earlier because of my right hand stress.
Yeah. Record collection, Ron.
Well, you know what it is, too, is that right hand.
I'll write it out.
That right hand is connected to your heart, and you're using too much, and it's fucking your heart up. And not to only mention that we're more handsome. More endowed.
Your right hand's connected to your heart?
Huh? Yeah. Maybe. Left-handed? No, when you have a stroke, I guess your left hand goes numb. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's weird things like that. But that's your brain. Like things get crossed in your brain.
Could be
arteries. So what are you going with, John Mark?
I'm saying that's false.
Interesting. Well, I said I'd go with the group. I'm tempted to go true here. I'm going to go... Fuck it. I'm going to go true. Fuck you, Southpaw. You don't know yourself. That's what I'm saying.
All right. Oh, my God. This is great. Okay, cool. Question 7. It was determined that graves needed to be 6 feet underground, mainly in order to A, prevent animals from uprooting them, B, to dissuade grave robbers, C, to ensure corpse bloating doesn't occur. Corpse bloating, or to D,
saw them open
to prevent.
Guar
all those but they closed for him too.
I use Guar way too often. It's a good morbid
we all. Was it D, to prevent the spread of disease? Again, in order the 6 foot underground normality.
Can you sing that in Creed, please? 6 feet under.
Yeah, how does that one go? Yeah, let's not. Let's not.
I was laughing at the beginning. I was like, no way, that's a great.
My grave's wide open.
Although, wasn't it 10 feet at one point? Or am I wrong about that?
I don't know anything about that.
Below. That's a long hole to dig.
Again, 6 feet was established primarily in order to prevent animals from uprooting them, B, to dissuade grave robbers, to ensure corpse bloating doesn't occur, or to prevent the spread of disease. John Mark, going with baby.
I think I'm going with to dissuade animals, or to prevent animals from digging them up.
Smelling them and digging them up.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, the further down you get, the less likely they would be to even bother digging you up, even if they could smell you. But 6, that seems peculiar. Although, God, I'm tempted to go with the disease, but I feel like when we talked to Rob, at some point, I feel like this came up, and I want to say that it's to prevent theft. I could be confusing that with the cement, though. They ended up putting the cement thing on top to sort of solidify that. But I'm going to go with theft.
Okay, be down for a B.
Theft was a real deal.
Grave robbers. I always loved that pairing of words. Grave robber.
Grave robber.
Good name if it's not already used.
It was a bloating corpse. The theory behind that, I'm assuming, is that you would be in cooler grounds, so you wouldn't rot as fast.
But why would it matter if you're?
It would still degrade. Well, because it's still getting a water supply, I would think. I mean, there's enough of it. Yeah.
Back when this was a thing, I mean, we've been burying people that deep for a long time, so we are talking older times.
I saw a bloating corpse open for Cannibal Corpse and Angel Corpse in '98.
It was Corpse Fest '98. I was there.
It was, yeah.
Oh,
Sweet.
I was there at '97, but it wasn't as good. They were still figuring out the way. But I did see Grave Robber.
We're mentioning the old "Bring Out Your Dead" joke, little Monty Python thing. It was during those times of the plague that a lot of people were dying. They were just dying on the streets, and they were hauling them out on carts. And they would pull them to the outskirts of the city and just dump them and bury them burnt.
It's fucking horrifying.
And they would, or maybe just bury them in the backyard, with its mom's dead, put her in the backyard, and lazily enough, go, a foot, 2 feet, bury them. The problem with that is mice and stuff would get them and get the disease and then spread it around. And that's and
the rats, especially that was when they invented like the sewer system and stuff. They had no idea. And all the
so are you going? So Lyle, are you going with the combo of animal and disease?
Yeah, I was kind of waiting for an all of the above.
Just the disease.
Going disease.
Yeah.
Okay, Lyle, I'll put you down for a solid D here. Okay, last question here. It is recorded that the last words of Thomas Edison as he drifted towards death was this: A. I feel warmth, what fortune.
Yeah, it's warm where you're going, motherfucker.
B. My wife, I know she lives. Trying to make them dramatic.
I like it, a little Shakespearean.
Is it C? It's very beautiful over there.
Or D. Oh fuck, it's the elephant.
Pitchfork, no.
Or was it D? Well, oh my shit.
Oh boy. I was working on a list at one point of best last words that people give, but so many of them ended up being urban legend that I ultimately didn't bring it. I'm curious. I don't remember coming across an Edison one. Run through them real quick again.
I feel warmth, what fortune. My wife, I know she lives. It's very beautiful over there. Or, well, oh my shit.
I sure want it to be D. Where are you going?
This is probably not true, but I'm going to go with, well, oh my shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Boy.
I'll put you down.
I would love that, but I feel like it was probably something like my wife lives. I know it. It's kind of a nice one.
She lives.
Although she could be in hell too. She's riding atop a glorious elephant. Some people out there are confused by the elephant thing. I'm sure.
Is it
Look it up or don't.
I think it was Topsy's Revenge.
It wasn't just an elephant. It was a few elephants and cats. Anything they could get their paws on, he would execute them publicly.
What was the first one?
All to claim Tesla's version.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
CC versus DC. What a cunt.
That rat fuck.
He was a fucking cunt, man. Sorry, Lyle. You had a question?
Oh, what was the first one?
Was I feel warmth, what fortune.
See, what if this? What if it was? And it was right before he was dying. What if it was like an R. Kelly thing where he was like urinating himself and it was like, I feel warmth.
I feel warmth. What a blessing.
What the fuck?
What's that?
No, maybe not.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I do love D.
Not the guy.
Oh my! Oh shit.
He deserved it, whatever it was, man. Jeez.
On that we agree.
No, he was a filthy fucker. Let's go with. I'll go with the third one and say, "Oh, look at that! It's so beautiful over there."
Oh wow, it's the romantic. I love it. Rana, I don't think I got your. What'd you go with?
What did I go with? Oh, I went with the where he saw his wife.
Wife. Okay, give me a sec. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to do this as we go. I don't know who won this.
I don't
Let's find out.
Tabulate where we're at here.
I'm just going to... Question 1. As your body dies, the last sense to leave you is your hearing. Ronster.
Interesting.
Let's see. They were able to determine this basically by running an EKG on the brain activity of people in hospice as they were departing and stimulus to certain things. And the last things that were able to register electroactivity was the hearing. That's fascinating.
Huh.
So what was the first,
Did you say?
Yeah.
What was the first to go?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't. It wasn't in the article that I skimmed, but it's a fucking good question. Yeah, it's a great question.
Right. I bet it's
wow, that's a
eyes.
good question. Smell, maybe? I don't know. I bet it's smelling. Okay, so Ronster got that correct. So I'm going to put him down for a point right off the bat. Ron, was that 1 point? Okay. Question 2. Embalming corpses became much more popular and common practice after Abe Lincoln was embalmed. He had to make a long journey for his body, and they embalmed him for it, apparently, and it became much more popular after that. Nobody got that correct.
So it was a thing. Awarded. It just wasn't widespread. He made it popular.
I wanted to say that, but it was like the one that was like the oldest in time, and I was like, that seems like it's too obvious. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for
but
sure.
There was some sort of trick to it.
I know, you guys. I'm feeling pretty good about that. Okay. Question 3, true or false? On average, nearly 250,000 people die every single day on this globe. That was false. It was a little bit of trickery there. Only 150,000 people a day die. Not quite that many. Y'all went true.
Okay. We're all a little pessimistic when it comes to death
it's
stats.
It's like 500,000.
Yeah, you're all fucking dead already. You don't even know. Okay.
Die a little inside.
Yeah, how many people die inside every day? Way more.
Yeah. See little in the distance, like some dishwasher in some restaurant, just head down low.
Look over there! What an unblessing. Dishwasher.
It's one of them.
Yeah.
Okay, question 4. True or false? Men who are hanged often get a death erection known as rigor erectus. And of course, that was true. You're all going to get a point for that.
Boing. Boing.
When it comes to boners, I can't fool you guys.
Yeah. I feel like most deaths probably do that. But interesting that I wonder if there's science behind. Like, is it specifically with hanging? I thought that was kind of a thing.
I didn't read why. Yeah, I think it is some kind of a blood flow thing, but who knows? Okay, question. Well,
if you've been to back in the day when they used to have public hangings all the time, after your second or third rodeo, you're waiting for the boner, aren't you? Now wait and be sure to stick around. There's more to the show after he's done kicking. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna dance around a little bit. The lucky ones break their necks immediately, and then they all they leave us with the parting salute. Oh, we are humble creatures in the end, quite literally.
Okay. We're still getting over that one. Okay. Question 5. True or false? Your hair and nails continue to grow after death. That is actually false. That's a myth. And Lau was absolutely right. It's a myth. What really happens is your body dries out a bit, and so nail beds and the skin on our head retract a little bit, making nails, stubble, and hair appear to be longer than they were at death.
Interesting.
So, so Lau, you actually analyzed that perfectly, but you did go true there, unfortunately. Ronster took a point there. So I believe the score is John Mark 1, Ron 3, Lyle 1. Am I correct there?
It feels right. Mm-hmm. I mean, it doesn't feel right, but it feels accurate.
Okay.
I'm not used to being up
question.
Here on the podium so far.
No, it's weird. Question 6, true or false? On average, left-handed people tend to live 3 years less than right-handed people. This was true. This statistic is 100% true. And I was like, this can't be true, as I fucking Googled it. And apparently they did one big-ass study once, and it came back even worse. Like, it was like 9% or 9 years or something ridiculous. But then they did another bigger study, and it was closer to 3 years. And they don't have a lot of good answers as to why. But the biggest theory is that a lot of left-handed people tend to do things that are meant for right-handed people. They don't, like a tool or something, or driving or something weird, and at some point that causes or something to that effect. I don't know the science behind that is accurate or not, but they've done several studies on it, and it's a real thing that keeps coming up. So
very interesting.
Jesus Christ, this is why I
just said false because I didn't want it to be true.
No, it's fair, dude. I felt wrong. It made me feel bad. Real bad. Yeah. Ronster, you're going to get that correct again.
Amazing.
For another point, that puts you at 4 points. It might be a runaway show here, but let's see.
I think it must be.
Okay, question 7. It is determined that graves needed to be 6 feet underground, mainly in order to prevent the spread of disease. Lau got that correct for a point.
Yay!
Oh, interesting.
It was during the plague.
I bet a lot went into dialing that in. I feel like I'm pretty sure that at one point it was 10 feet. Maybe they realized that 6 would do, but I feel like it stayed like we're. It seems like we would have made that shallower, don't you think? Like in this more and more economical.
Yeah, and I don't know if maybe it is different these days. I don't really know much about.
Although now we got tractors, so it's even easier.
Does anyone even want to be buried?
What was the
anymore?
answer?
Fewer and fewer.
My feed cut out for a second.
Oh, the answer
disease.
was to prevent the spread of disease. It was actually established during one of the plagues. That's when they really dialed that in, so to speak.
That's an interesting question. I'm going to look that up. What percentage of people get buried? Oh, interesting.
It's like 11. I bet it's like 11%.
It's low, but it's not that low. According to a new report by the National Funeral Directors Association, cremations accounted for 50.2% of funerals. Oh, this is going back to 2016. So I bet it's more and more in favor of cremation, up from 48% in 2015. It says in 2015, 43% of Americans opted for a burial. So about half and half, but definitely leaning toward cremation. And here's something from 2020 that just says cremations are on the rise. So yeah, you got to think that's closer to 60-40, if not 70-30 at this point. But yeah, fewer and fewer burials. It's mostly religious reasons that people don't want to get cremated. You know, a lot of religions believe that if you do anything to destroy or disrupt your body, that you can't be reunited with it in the spirit world or some variation of that. So I would wager that in the future that will probably account for almost 100% of the reasons people are choosing burial, or this new economic or environmental way of being buried, where they basically turn you into a giant mushroom. That could get people being buried again. I do kind of like the idea of that if it's not crazy expensive. But that's the other thing,
too,
right? I mean, you're dealing with this right now. Like cremation is cheaper. Yeah, it's always going to be cheaper. Or am I wrong? Yeah, it's got to be cheaper.
I don't know.
You don't need to.
I mean, like I don't need to tell you. Like it was like about $1,600 after all was said and done for my pops.
I don't think you can even get a cheap casket for less than close to $10,000 these days, right?
I have no idea.
Then you got to rent the plot. You don't need a piece of ground.
Yeah.
Let me look that up.
Do you buy? Is that like? I'm so curious. Is that how much is a fucking
casket? They rented one for Danny's funeral because they. Oh, I was wrong. They're still within the $1,000 to $5,000 range for the average one.
Yeah. So, how much is a fucking cemetery plot? Like an average. Like what does that cost you?
Average.
I'm gonna guess $15,000.
I typed a wedge cement.
Average salad.
Cemetery. I can never spell cemetery right. Those words I can never get right. All these fucking thumbs. Cemetery plot. Price.
At $15,000.
That's more expensive than the coffin. $2,000 to $5,000. So if you got a decent midland coffin and a spot in your typical, now it says it says according to Cremation Institute, 2,000 to 5,000 is the national average. But some go way below that and some go way above it, of course. There even in death, there are the elite and there are more prestigious cemeteries one can get into.
Question. Mm-hmm. Do you have to be a member of that church to be buried in their cemetery?
No. Well, in a church's cemetery? Yeah, I would guess so. Yeah.
It's like kind of like where Danny's buried. That's like that's a church cemetery. It's the same place Niemeyer was buried, and they had to be. I think it was the same.
Oh, that's a public cemetery.
Is it?
Yeah. Okay. But I would guess, the smaller ones are. You would have to be. I don't know how it works. I'm sure you could be, I don't know, grandfathered in if your family is all buried in a plot. You don't necessarily have to join the church, but that's becoming less and less of a thing too. Anywho,
Okay,
interesting.
Yeah, Lau got a point for that last one there. Question 8. It's recorded that the last words of Thomas Edison as he drifted towards death were, "It's very beautiful over there." Lyle.
That's a bummer.
Lyle, come in with the point at the end there. Yeah, it is a bummer.
Don't call it come back.
Are we tied?
Yeah.
Where are we at?
Nope, that puts Lyle at 3 points and Ron at 4. So Ron is going to be our winner tonight.
Well, Danny, you caught me on a rare night. I am drinking.
That up.
Denny Kish, congratulations. You're going to be into our next championship round for certain there. Cheryl Martin is the other one that is there. Let's see, I'm going to make sure. I always try to date these right here and there because my stoned ass forgets later. 12.2.21. Okay, so I'll try to get a listener on for our next one so we have a little more spice. But congratulations there, Ronster, with a great, strong showing. Just telling those people to eat your dick that don't think you can play News Quiz, Weird Triv, that might get me into a new gig.
Well, I was kind of telling my fellow players here on the show to eat dick. I was like, oh, you going with that? I'm going to go twice. I went against the grain, and you guys should have known better than me on that Southpaw one.
Should have.
There was something happening tonight. Can't really put my finger on it, but I was feeling steered. So maybe Denny Kish was putting some sort of good mojo hex on me, even though he couldn't know that I'm playing for him for another week. That's how things work. Fun. It is fun when I can every now and again win. I guess it statistically, okay, it has to happen. Odds wise.
What was that word?
I believe it was a wedge cement. Just answer me, Google. A wedge cement. Figure it out. Well, that was fun, and also going to be fun. I'm looking forward to talking about these albums, and I think why don't we start with Jimi Hendrix? Blues album. That was Ben's pick, our Ben. Then we'll go with Timber Timbre, Abby's pick, and ending with Katie's choice, brand new album. I'm just going to kick it off with Jimi Hendrix, and we'll go wherever you guys want to go. First of all, and I'm sure that I mentioned this when Ben brought this up. Now, the way he described it, I didn't look into the history or the making of this album at all. It was basically going off what he said. I feel like he said this was kind of like a compilation of different sessions that were put together, that maybe they were odds and ends. Sometimes you got the feeling that they're just sort of fucking around in the studio. But, you know, Jimi Hendrix fucking around, so it's still really good. And all the musicians that he worked with were just fucking phenomenal and innovative. But what I loved, the very first thing that I noticed, it's a blues album for sure. I mean, and a lot of people get a little bored with the blues. I'm one of them, honestly, when it's just that sort of ding, 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 ding. I mean, it's not really that sort of blues. It's more the Zeppelin-y, ding, 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 you know, that sort of pace. And there's a lot of that, and it gets a little drony, but that's kind of like what I like about it. But I'll get to that in a minute. But the first notes were very unprocessed, and that's what I loved about this whole collection. Was it was stripped down, you know, stepping away from his usual psychedelic, fuzzy, washy, purple hazily production that a lot of his other recordings are known for. And the first part is just hearing the chops, the playing chops. No one's going to say, well, I didn't realize Jimi Hendrix could play the guitar like that. Of course, it's not like that. It's just hearing it in a new way. You can hear more of like what his fingers are actually doing, more guitar sound. You know, again, that fewer processing and effects really go a long way to just sort of shrinking down what he's actually just fucking doing with just strings of metal against some mahogany. And I really enjoyed that aspect of it. The texture of the fretwork, you could hear it better than I've ever heard Jimi Hendrix. Comes through way more clear and than a lot of his LP recordings. But more than that, his voice, the same thing. And I don't think Jimi Hendrix really gets enough credit for his singing voice. You know, he's not an amazing singer, but he's a great rock and roll singer. And nobody hears a Jimi Hendrix song, and even if you're not hearing the riffs, you know, his famous riffs, or the choruses, just as soon as he sings, you know who you're hearing. It's a very distinct voice. There's nobody else that sounds like Jimi Hendrix, really, ever. But that really comes through as well, too. Again, just fewer processes on the voice, and it's more soulful, a little bit more gospel behind the bluesiness. So I enjoyed it on that level, too. It was nice to hear the raw parts of it, but it does sort of drone in a sort of long-winded way that I don't necessarily find negative. In a similar way that for some of the reasons that I like a lot of the prog rock, you know, prog rock isn't all about showing off and all these fanciful riffs and keyboard work and 8-minute guitar solos. You know, a lot of it is atmospheric, and it's like building towards something, and there's all this space. The sort of space for you to just kind of like get lost in, and then all of a sudden it starts building. So many of these songs almost sound like they're not going to go anywhere, and then all of a sudden it's just, holy shit, everyone's just playing these crazy solos, but they're not fighting against each other. It's very simple. But yeah, he commented on the drumming. He commented there's some amazing bass playing that you don't really get to shine through in a lot of Jimi Hendrix's other stuff. So I don't think that was necessarily a bad thing. But the thing that I really took away from it is like, holy shit, did Led Zeppelin lift a lot of shit from Jimi Hendrix?
Oh, really?
This was such a Led Zeppelin-y album to me. Like, if you are a Led Zeppelin fan and you haven't heard this album, and you're like a lot of people craving more Zeppelin-y music, but we've listened to those same albums over and over and over again, to the point of burnout in some cases, I would definitely recommend this because it's really got a good Led Zeppelin-y feel, and which makes sense when you think about it. You know, it's all blues rock, heavy rock, or blues-based heavy rock. But again, Jimi Hendrix's experience was really about layers and textures and in-studio effects and playing backwards. They were really doing a lot of studio work on those albums. Not that they weren't on Led Zeppelin, but especially the first two Led Zeppelin albums, those were just pretty straightforward bluesy rock and roll with elements of folk rock. And you get some of that on this album too. So if you love early Led Zeppelin and you haven't heard this Jimi Hendrix album, I highly recommend it. I think it was a great pick. And I will 100% play this on the regular henceforth, because I was playing it just today to get one more last playthrough. I did that with all the albums. I've listened to these all at least 5 times, all 3 of these albums in the last week.
God. Awesome.
But this one especially, I was working on some art, just tooling around. I was like, this is the kind of shit that I love having on in the background, where I don't need it to speak to me constantly. It can go in these little atmospheric areas. It can go in like some jamming. I don't like a lot of jam band music, but there's some jam band type stuff where they're just sort of having fun and feeling it out. And I really like that when I'm working, when I'm doing some art. So I enjoyed on that level. I will say, I think the album would have been much better if it ended with, I think it was the third to the last song, which is Jelly 292. I think if it ended there, there were a couple more songs, but one of them was a reprise of an earlier song, and one of them I thought it didn't really do anything that hadn't already been done on the album. And then I think it would have been pretty damn perfect, honestly. But I could also tell you I absolutely would have been obsessed with this album in high school when I was all balls deep into classic rock, Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, Cream. This album has all those notes, and but way more intimate. It kind of reminds me of the old days where, like, when Lyle and I would fight, we didn't have these chops, of course, but it was the same sort of, we have something to record with. Let's just get in there and record and make some shit. Something about this album kind of has that vibe. So I dug it on that level too. What'd you guys think of it?
I dug it. I really like the drums in it. Holy cow.
Yeah.
I'm a guitar player, so to me, it's like I tend to levitate to more of the strings than I do any kind of percussions, and I was like floored. I really was floored. It was definitely an experience without stealing that album name. But one as a joke, one guy that I think of when it comes to using a wah pedal way too much would be Kurt Hammett. He gets joked, you know, he's the lead guitar player from Metallica.
Mm-hmm.
It's like almost a meme, you know, on how much he uses a wah pedal.
I wouldn't have thought of that as being overly used, but yeah, he uses it.
I did notice that in this album. I mean, it was
a lot. He even does wah wah with his voice, though. You remember that song? He's like actually like wah 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 wah. Yeah, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Is like they're like, yeah, this isn't us in the studio being like, okay, how do we make the next amazing record? They're like, now let's just fucking have fun.
Yeah, that was a good album, definitely.
Yeah.
I guess. Oh, Lyle, did you have more to say?
No, I only listened to it once. All the CDs I only really listened to them once, and it was back when we were supposed to talk about them. So I'm still a little rusty on them. It's been a couple weeks. So.
Yeah. Well, that's all right. I mean, a big part of this is your initial take. Although I've got something to say about that concerning the next two albums, which we'll get to.
Interesting. For Hendrix, I was, I've never really been that into Jimi Hendrix, so I was like, okay, let's give this a spin. I listened to it twice, and I did like the sound a bit more. I really dug that acoustic track. I just can't recall ever hearing Jimi Hendrix on like an acoustic guitar like that rocking. It was cool. It just felt a lot different than the Hendrix that I have listened to in the past.
Yeah, totally.
I get really annoyed at how talented he is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do you ever listen to someone you're just like...
It does.
He's natural, yeah.
It's like...
Well, the thing is he's not just playing guitar, or he's not just singing. I mean, he's doing it all.
Oh,
and
yeah. And,
that just blows my mind away.
Like, I start listening to the riffs, I'm like, well, now he's just showing off. Like,
you can't have all of them. You can't have all the riffs.
And I'm like, my brain starts to wonder how much of it is just on the fly, like, or if it's the same, played the same way every single time. Like, I don't even, my brain explodes trying
interesting. There was a lot more improv back in the day with live performances.
Yeah, so here's the thing about that, and I will speak to what you're saying about like the singing and playing and having the talent and stuff. Like there was I had a Jimi Hendrix box set. It was like a box set of cassettes from back in the day, and it was like a radio show that they had done. So it was like this kind of like a comprehensive like overview of his life and career. And then there was like a few live shows, and there was this one show. It was like the Forum in LA, and like I want to say it was 1969. It could have been 68. I can't remember exactly when it was, but like. I'm pretty sure it was from that cassette, and that was the one I listened to over and over and over. And they took the songs that and then they just fucking went off with like improvisations and stretched them out. And some of them were kind of to the point where it's like, okay, kind of get back, you're kind of losing the plot, guys.
Yeah,
but not really, but just a little bit. But
there's some of that on that album too.
There was stuff that he was doing where he would just like do a lick on his guitar. And he would sing the exact same notes with his voice. He'd go, whoa, whoa, yeah, and play the exact same thing on guitar at the same time. You're like, what the fuck, dude? Yeah. Because you know he just did that in that moment, you know?
Yeah.
You're just like, shit.
Left-handed, too. Well, another southpaw. Now, was he playing He played like a regular guitar upside down, didn't he? Or am I wrong about that?
Yeah, they just... I think he was playing he just strung it differently, yep.
Well, he was doing some shit in this that I'd never heard him really do, like the finger tapping stuff. Remember that solo was like just all over I mean, there's always a little bit of finger tapping, but like some, like going back to Metallica, it was like Metallica worthy, like finger tapping shit. It was fun to hear him noodling around like that too.
This album made me think a lot about the Jimi Hendrix death conspiracy stuff we talked about with the wine and everything. I couldn't stop thinking about that while listening to this.
Dude was murdered. You won't convince me otherwise. Dude was fucking murdered. I don't know exactly why. There's a lot of theories. You know, we talked about them all.
27? Was it 27?
Yeah,
27 Club.
Died in 1970. I think 1970.
I also really dug one song. I tried to like one song that I enjoyed the most was I like the first song quite a bit, the acoustic thing, but I also like Red House quite a bit. I found myself just grooving out to that. I was like, this is cool. So anyways, thanks again, Ben, for sharing that, and I did enjoy it enough to it gave me pause, made me think quite a bit.
Yeah,
so,
good pick. And I got to be honest, it was the least out of the three. It was the least I was excited to listen to because I'd heard so much Jimi Hendrix. It's like, okay, I haven't listened to Hendrix in a while, so I'll be into checking it out just for that reason. But I wasn't really expecting it to be this new for me, this different. And I don't want to make it sound like, oh, this sounds nothing like Jimi Hendrix. This is Jimi Hendrix. It's kind of like when they went back and did the Beatles' Let It Be Naked. Remember that, where they took away all the wall of sound and they stripped it back down? It's like hearing it for the first time. And it wasn't necessarily that it was better. It was just different, and you could appreciate it in a different way. And very similar thing here. Before we move on, John Mark, did you have any other thoughts on the album?
Yeah, so for me, when I first started listening to this, and honestly, all the way through it, it was like, I just felt like I was listening to more Jimi Hendrix, because I used to listen to the shit out of Jimi Hendrix, like, 10, 15 years ago. Yeah. And to this day, I have to say, I think that Electric Ladyland is probably like the epitome to me of like a psychedelic production recording.
Best album cover of all time, too.
I've never heard, I don't think I've ever heard an album that's supposed to be like a psychedelic rock album that the production is as robust as on that fucking album. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And anyways, so back in the day, I want to say, I can't remember what label put it out. It was one of those labels like Ryko or something, like, one of those weird labels that like you see on TV and shit, put this album out. It was like a Jimi Hendrix compilation. I want to say it was like BBC Sessions or something like that. I can't remember what it was called. I don't think it's available now, because I tried to look it up, because I have the CD, but I couldn't find it anywhere. I think it was one of those compilations that was put out that's not available anymore due to rights issues and stuff. Yeah. But it was all like these weird outtakes and like BBC radio sessions. I think it might have been called Radio 1. Because I think it was all BBC sessions. But to me, most of the stuff that was on this album, even though it wasn't probably the same stuff, I think some of the tracks probably were from those same sessions, but it was just like, oh, I think I've heard this before, and that compilation, I think how Ben was talking about what this compilation meant to him, I think that BBC compilation to me was kind of like that, because I listened to that so much. And I think the Red House outtake might have been the same one that was on there, but to me, it was more like, oh, this is really familiar. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so it didn't really have that much of an impact on me as like, oh, this is like definitely, there was some stuff on there. I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting and new. But for me personally, it was like, oh, this is more Jimi Hendrix. And I never, it's never a bad thing to listen to more Jimi Hendrix. Sure. Yeah.
Well, are you a Led Zeppelin fan, John Mark?
I am. I wouldn't say that I'm like the hugest Zeppelin fan, but I did go through quite a phase where I was listening to like Houses of the Holy and Led Zeppelin 3 and Led Zeppelin 2, like just like constantly.
I believe Abby's favorite Zeppelin is, she's a huge Zeppelin fan. I'm pretty sure 2 is her favorite album.
And honestly, when I was looking through, like when I pulled my record player out and set it up, and started digging through my record crates and like going, what do I fucking have in here? It's like I found all these Led Zeppelin records I don't remember fucking buying. Like I have like Physical Graffiti and Led Zeppelin 4. It's like, wow, I have like
Physical
almost
Graffiti's the one that I could put in more than anything these days, because I kind of burnt myself out on so many of the other ones. I still, once a year, I pull all my Zeppelin records out. It's like an annual tradition, and I just listen to them all in order, not in one day. I just keep them out, and it's like I'll listen to them throughout a week or maybe even 2 weeks, and I'll just like get through the entire discography, which isn't as long as you might think. For anyone who doesn't know how many Zeppelin albums there were, there really weren't a ton, but Yeah, Physical Graffiti is the one that I didn't really listen to much when I was young. So there's still a lot of newness to that record for me. Well, those records. It's a multi-album and some amazing stuff.
I honestly don't know if I've actually ever even spun those fucking platters. I need to pull that out and stick it on one of these days.
There's no Bad Zeppelin album. Even the Coda, which was kind of something like this, where there's a collection of random things, outtakes, studio sessions. There's some good shit on there. But yeah, Houses of the Holy is probably still my favorite Led Zeppelin album.
That's.
But I'm telling you, if you're a Zeppelin
right
fan and you haven't heard this version of Jimi Hendrix, I think you'll really dig it, if only on that level.
I still love Cashmere, man. That song gives me goosebumps every time I hear it.
Yeah.
Especially with an orchestra behind it. Holy crap.
I never get tired of Immigrant Song, even though it's one that you hear like everywhere. That still does the same thing to me too. I mean, that is a riff. It's like
in every superhero movie now ever.
I know, that's the thing, is like so many songs have been ruined. That one just can't get ruined for me. Like I still, every time I hear it, I'm like, I get it. It's so fucking good. We should move on though to Abby's pick, Timber Timbre. Now, as I mentioned last time, this is a band that I was aware of because of Abby. We used to exchange mix CDs, and at least at one point, maybe this was even after CD, she just would send me these songs. And I remember listening to Timber Timbre, and I was not a fan at first. And in fact, it took me a few listens for Timber Timbre, and I don't know that it was the amount of listens versus it was the right time. The first time that I really shifted into that second gear with them was super late night after hanging out with pals. Late in the evening, we all came back. We wanted one more drink. We just weren't ready to call it a night, but it was late. We closed the bar out. So by the time we're, cooking up a frozen pizza and pouring our ninth drink of the night, we were just ready to chill back or chill back, as the kids say. We're just chilling back. And dim lights. And I want something. I don't feel like something as docile as like Radiohead or some down-tempo techno, but I want something mellow. And I don't want to go back all the way to like Woody Guthrie, but something acoustic. And I was like, Timber Timbre, I'm going to try that shit. And I put on this exact album, which is their self-titled. And it just played in such a different way that it finally resonated on a whole new level. And it is, for me, completely chill out music. It's creepy and it's dark, but it's chill out. It's like and it's hard for me to take it in any other setting because the production of it is so gentle and hush. You're not going to put Iron and Wine in to rock the house party. Same thing with Timber Timbre.
That's what I do.
But at some point it's going to be right for the mood, the coming down mood. But it's so hush and so quiet that I think some of it actually is kind of ASMR-y. And I think that might repel people. It may have actually repelled me at one point, where I just wasn't in the mood for something that... It's like hearing somebody whisper. It's like, if you're going to fucking talk, just talk, right? But this super quiet, super gentle stuff can bug some people, and it even bugs me sometimes. But as subtle and as simple as the songs are, they kind of scoot along. It opens up with the song that kind of sounds like I Put a Spell on You, the original. And they just move along like that. And it's got a very sort of even keel to the whole album, little House in the Rising Sun type standards here and there.
Yeah, that's a great reference. That's a great way to look at that. Sorry.
It is great.
Great, man.
But there's quite a lot of style in that short little album. It's not a long album. There's old time country, got little gospel tinges, beat poet type lyrics here and there with like funeral parlor organ, and even a little exotica vibe in there. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Corla Pandit. This character back in, he's actually tied to the Ed Wood story, interestingly. But the whole exotica thing, I talked about that on the Tiki episode way back. And he's one of these dudes that was like, came out of some sort of generic, nondescript Middle Eastern world. He played this kind of nondescript Middle Eastern organ, but it turned out that he was either Canadian or American. He changed his name to be more exotic, and it was a total hack thing, but he could play, and it was an important part of that exotica lounge music, armchair travel records, they used to call them. That was all the rage in the 40s, 50s, and early 60s. So there's a lot of textures to the album, but I do love it now. But I still only like to listen to it late at night in the dark when you're downshifting from fourth into third, and then maybe into second bass. Not that I think it's a good fucking album, but
power fuck album.
But it might get you there. It might be a good like precursor, and then let's just turn off the murder music. But it's kind of like I was thinking on my final re-listen, and I've heard this album several times, unlike the other two we're talking about. It's a very different band, but Cigarettes After Sex, I think, is another one of these bands that's super quiet, hush music that a lot of people, it just like grates on them. Like it just grates on their nerves. And I made that connection today, and I wonder if that's why so many people have a problem with it, and why I'm really curious to hear what you guys have to say about it, and if that ASMR response type thing even makes sense to what I'm saying after you've heard it.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on the ASMR stuff. I mean, that's traditional with any kind of like music in general. Like I don't know, there's
textures and dynamics. Sure.
Yeah, that's kind of layers that just kind of float around. Mood changers, with changing up, different choruses. But yeah, I dug it. I liked it. It was really kind of dark. I only listened to it one time through, but I did enjoy it.
It's odd, isn't it? It's an odd. They're very distinct, and yet it pulls from a lot of different things. Is what I find with Timber Timbre. It's kind of hard to put your finger on them.
And I enjoy the lyrics too.
That's what I really got into with these last listens. They're really write interesting lyrics.
Mm-hmm. My favorite thing about this album was Abby's description of it. I forget what a gifted writer she is, and it was charming.
I almost
and
printed it in the comment, but I kept forgetting to reach out to her. I was like, I want to get a column going where people just suggest an album, and they do it just like that. But maybe next month.
I had a it's this type of music is a bit out of my wheelhouse, but I had a really fun experience with this album. I got really stoned, and I put this album on in the dark.
Oh yeah,
and I had this
lighting,
and I had this just vision of stumbling into this crazy little swanky craft cocktail lounge with this band playing this song, especially during, I think it was Lay Down in the Tall Grass, that song. It was one of the earlier, like 2 or 3. Fucking great vibe.
Dude, that's exactly how Jen described it too when we were listening to it in the car. She was like, this sounds like it should be a band that's in like just like what you said.
It'd be a great place to see a band like that in a little dive or cool little cocktail bar.
It just made me want to be there and made me want to order drinks and just soak it up. So I really had a good experience with this, even though it's not really my traditional style.
Be reaching for it. Yeah,
no, I think I put a couple of those tracks in a playlist or two that I can come back to and revisit. So I'm glad, and I learned a new stupid word.
Which is what? Oh, timbre. Yeah. John Mark, what did you think? I was curious.
Well, out of all 3 albums, this is the one that I came back to the most.
Interesting.
And so the guy's voice, the whole time that I listen to him sing, I see this weird sort of like cartoon face that has this weird kind of Cheshire cat, like weird mouth grin, like going, hey, you know what I mean?
Old-timey cartoon or something.
Yeah, his like I see this, like he's got this weird maniacal grin on his face with this kind of over exaggerated mouth, like I see this kind of weird, vision in my head of what, I know it's obviously not what he looks like, but it's just like kind of like the visual it gives me. And I think that Abby's description of it is right on.
Yeah.
And I would add to that by saying, to me, my very simple reduction of what she was saying is, it's like, are you guys familiar with Edward Gorey?
Oh yeah.
So who said no? What, Chris? Did you say something?
No, I'm not familiar with Edward Gorey.
Okay, so you look him up. He's an artist, a writer, who does very macabre, sort of like children's fables kind of things. He's most well known for the Ghastly Crumb Tinies. He did an alphabet. It was like A is for Aloysius, who died while drinking poison, kind of thing, right?
Yeah. I know. I recognize the art right away. Okay.
So this album made me think of that. Like, it was like listening to like an Edward Gorey story or world kind of come to life, right? Where it's like kind of cute and innocent, but macabre and dark, and something bad happens.
Yeah. That's perfect.
And that was the feeling I got from it. And I found myself like having some of those little guitar licks just here and there just like pop up in my head, you know, at random times during the day, like whatever, you know, I can't think of it right now, but you know, those simple, they would just come back to me, and I'd be in the shower and be like, it's like, oh, there's that song.
Are you death cartooning in there again?
Like bing, ding, 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 and just like some of the little, just, it's very simple, but it's sticky.
It's unique and it's tricky.
Yeah, and it sticks with you, and I enjoyed it. And like, what's the song about the night crawlers, like crawling out in the yard or something like that? Like,
I think that's my favorite of the album.
It's so good. Thumbs up. I don't know how often I will go back to it, but it's something I'll probably throw on from time to time, depending on what life brings to my mood.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Nice. Well, that brings us to our last one now, Chris. I can start this off and we can end with you. Or we can reverse that. We can start with you, however you want to do it. This is the one pick. You had personal ties to this. You've had personal ties with Katie, who brought it to us. So do you want to start or do you want to end here?
I'll end. Yeah,
because I think you'll definitely have the most to say about it. This was the one pick that I knew absolutely nothing about, and I was looking forward to trying, but once again, the first playthrough did not do anything for me. But as I talked to you guys in the, off the show, I just wasn't in the headspace. I wasn't in the mood, and I knew that, but I was trying to. It's like, we got to do it. And at that time, we thought we were going to be podcasting the next week. We didn't know we'd be taking a couple weeks off. But I gave it another try a couple days later, and I'm just like, I got to get through this album. But it's like I'm angry right now, and I don't want to be angry at this music. So I gave it a third shot, and I was in a totally different headspace. Nothing to do with the album. I was just in a better mood, and I was like, I want some tunes. Like, oh, I need to check out that album. That was a perfect time to do it. And I gotta say, I'm surprised that I didn't get into it, because even when I'm in a bad mood, I can still appreciate good music. It's just sometimes you just don't want music, though. It's the only thing I can explain, because I was surprised I didn't get into it right away. Because the third time I was into it, the first song, I was like, I like these guys. It's not a genre, I guess these would be classified. There's so many subcategories, but anything that gets tagged emo or comes from a certain time frame, anywhere near those words, I'm like, usually not interested. It's not that I'll write them off without giving them a shot. But I kept I think I was on guard to some degree, if that makes sense. Like maybe I was in a weird way, I was like predetermining that I wasn't going to like it. I don't know what it was. Anyway, all that went away during that third listening. Even the first song I dug, and the second song I dug, and it just kind of, I thought the album got a little bit better and better, and then like most albums, it meanders a little bit, but ends in a good way. But I think for the first playthrough, all the way through, I was worried that I don't want them to go too emo. Don't never go full emo, kids. A little dabbing. I mean, you can't. I mean, what is emo after all? You can't help but go a little emo if you're singing and you're writing lyrics about love and hurt and whatever the kids have spun into the idea of emo. But there is a sound. There is like a type of sound that comes from a lot of quote unquote emo bands. And again, I don't even know if this is exactly how this band is usually categorized, but that was the vibe I was getting from the description and from just looking them up. But I will say one good association I made right off the bat was some of it reminded me of the earlier days of Sunny Day Real Estate, which is one of my favorite bands of all time. And one of two bands that I have narrowed down my pick for next time when we reset this, which will be our picks for most underrated albums, or albums that most people don't know about that you should. Underrated is kind of a weird term because it does make it sound like, well, those albums are shit on. It's not so much that they're shit on, but they're actually good. It's just they're albums that more people should know. For whatever reason, they just toiled in before hitting the mainstream. And Sunny Day Real Estate is one of two. I think I might be going another way with that one, but we'll wait. I still got some deciding on that. But that's never going to be a bad association for me. Anything that they don't sound like Sunny Day. It's just like notes here and there. But I dug that. There's also a little bit of Pinback. And I like a little of Pinback, not all their stuff, but I like some of Pinback stuff. And some of the vocals really reminded me of Pinback, who I do like. And the first song that made me stop and hit, like I got to start that over and hear it again, and I listened to it quite a few times, was Limousine.
Yeah, that's the one she was talking about.
I really do like that. And, you know, the shift halfway through that continues to build toward the end is really good stuff. You know, the what's the lyric? It's like, I love you so much, but
do me a favor, baby, don't reply, because I can dish it out, but I can't take it.
Yes, that's a great line. Super emo-y, sure, but also super fucking relatable, and it resonated with me. It was like, say it again. Say the line one more time.
Do me a favor, baby, don't reply, because I can dish it out, but I can't take it.
Yeah, there's something about the combination of those words, which is a great line, but the way he sings it, and then the harmony kicks in, and then, you know, it's a good build. It's one of those songs that builds well, and yeah, I thought that was good shit, and I was happy with it. That to me is the pinnacle of the album. I think the whole album holds up, and there's a lot of good little segues and sort of like mini songs within the songs that I always like. But and, you know, another pet peeve of mine with anything that came out from this general era, the early 2000s, or anything tied to the whole emo idea, is that a lot of those albums, no matter what, if you really break down the songs, sometimes it's hard to really dial in on what you don't like. 99% of the time for me, it's just the production. Like they tried to like make all these albums sound somewhat like Blink-182 for some reason, and it wasn't appropriate for a lot of those bands, and I think it really shot a lot of these bands in the foot. But this album doesn't suffer from that. I loved the production of this album. I think that it fits the mood. It's not my favorite singer in the world by any stretch, but I think, again, more than being a singer whose voice necessarily speaks to me, I think he gets the job done, and he fits the mood. You know, it felt right, and it feels authentic. They feel like an authentic band to me. And I can easily see why Katie found so much to hold on to with this album during times that were tough, you know, moving cross country, bad relationship stuff, and self-doubt. All that stuff really resonates. Again, especially I can see why the Limousine one resonated with her on that level, because that kind of says it all to me. And I got to say, this might ruffle one feather off John Mark. I'm curious, but a couple of times the singer's voice just sways slightly to me toward, I can't remember his name, but the singer for Monster Magnet. And I'm wondering what John Mark thinks about that.
Dave Windorf, or Weindorf, I don't know how you pronounce it.
Did you find that at all with this album?
I did not make that connection.
Do you see it now that it's kind of tricky because his voice goes in a lot of different directions. He has a lot of different tones. He's got the whisper thing. He's got a little of the screamo thing from here and there, but there's a few different tones to his voice. Maybe there's two singers. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of harmony too in the music that I preferred. I liked the band. I liked I listened to it. I really liked it. I'm a person that likes guttural screams in his music, you know, just like, I mean, but it's got to be legible. You got to be able to, hear what they're saying. You know what I mean? For me, I like
just lost John Mark.
Heavy death metal. I can't do. Right? If you can't understand what the hell they're saying, I can't get on board.
Yeah.
But
a lot of people feel that way.
It's more set in emotions, in this case, and it's kind of one of those deals where, pulls you through these songs that, they're well written, they're harmonized well. I mean, it's a good album. I dug it.
Good layers, good texture. John Mark, what'd you think?
Well, this was not for me.
Oh!
Well, there should be at least one voice of dissent, right? As long as it's
for sure.
authentic.
Yeah.
Well,
so overall, it's just not like my kind of band.
Yeah.
I will say though that I did. So that being said, so it's like not a band that I would choose to listen to. And it's like one of those. It's kind of one of those unquantifiable things, right? It's just like it just doesn't hit my ears right.
Right.
For
that's
whatever
like
reason,
with a lot of this emo stuff in general, especially.
Yeah, and I couldn't tell you exactly why, like scientifically, because who can?
Yeah.
But I did, even though I couldn't tell you right now what any of the lyrics were. I remember when I was listening to it that I did appreciate like his lyricism and his writing ability. I thought the lyrics were actually like, oh, this is a pretty good turn of phrase. This is cool. Like I appreciated like what the lyrics were saying, and like I was like, oh, angsty, but like,
yeah, he in a funny way, his lyrics have hooks. You know what I mean? Like like he's so good with the trick of the phrase.
They're clever.
Yeah.
Like what he was saying and what he was going for, and like it made sense to me, and like I was like, oh, this is a good way of expressing that.
Yeah, they stick in your head like
and
a good riff.
I appreciated that. And I did actually, the song Die Gausser, I really, really dug what they were doing with the guitars in that song. That really stuck out to me. But overall, just like as like a whole vibe, it just wasn't doing it for me. Mm-hmm. But I did appreciate the artistry and the musicianship and the talent that went into it.
Did you like the production?
It just, to me,
that could
it just
be
sounded like
one of the things that isn't resonating with you is
the production.
I thought the production was really interesting. Good.
It didn't jump out to me either way as good or bad. It was like everything was clear; you could hear everything.
Yeah.
But for me, it was, I don't know. It didn't really stand out to me.
Yeah. Well, that's fair.
But what do I have? I have no leg to stand on. I like to listen to shit that sounded like it was recorded on a fucking 4-track in a forest. So
that's why you said you can't put it on paper, and like you said as well, who could? Because I know what you're talking about. It's like, well, when someone says they hate Bob Dylan's voice, I get it, but I can't tell them why I don't.
This would be so boring if we all agreed on everything. You know what I mean? It's cool to have different minds.
I'm actually surprised with how cohesive this has been thus far.
Me too.
I mean, I guess not shocked. It's just like we all dug this pretty much. And honestly, I didn't think John Mark would like this at all. But it sounds like he didn't hate it. Right? You just
I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it. It wasn't my thing, and I did like I said, particularly Die Gausser stuck out to me. I was like, oh, there's some fucking cool shit going on here with the guitars.
If I could get you to listen to one more song, I would listen to Limousine a couple more times.
Yeah, give it another couple of spins if you can stomach.
Not to turn you around on it, because this isn't an album that I'm going to listen to all the time. But I can tell you that I will absolutely be adding Limousine to my regular playlist, at least for a good long while. That song really resonated with me.
I will totally give it another shot.
It's got everything. It's got everything that I liked about that entire album in the one song. So maybe give that one just a couple more spins. But that brings us to Christopher F. Hart, who you knew this album. You knew it well.
I did. Yeah. I remember I discovered this not too long after it was released. I'd just fallen kind of in love with Brand New. I used to make fun of this band a little bit because it was a bit more emo early on, especially. I liked emo though. Don't get me wrong. Like I was an emo kid. Like that was my fucking. Sure. That was my wheelhouse.
Yeah,
back
that
then.
hits the timeline perfectly for you.
2000, 2001, 1998, 99, right in there. So they had this great rivalry with the band Taking Back Sunday. Are you guys familiar with Taking Back Sunday?
They're associated with Saves the Day, right?
They,
or am I
well,
wrong?
they all kind of. I don't know if they were associated with them. They all probably played the same fucking circuit together. But Taking Back Sundays had a few radio hits, so they have some notoriety at this point. That was a great word. I nailed it. But I remember, so the lead singer for Taking Back Sunday will often swing his microphone around the stage, and he'll like loop it around his neck, and it'll like snake around him, and then he'll catch it with his hand. And something happened between those two bands. Like the lead singers were best friends or something, and then one of them stole the other's girlfriend, and they started writing like public songs about each other. And you would go to like the brand new shows, and they were selling merch that said "Microphones are for singing, not swinging," that kind of shit. Like that was a real thing. But that was before this album. That was before they like matured into a different sound, in my opinion. Like if you go back and listen to earlier brand new, it's very pop punky, but still got that still has the lyrics that are charming, and maybe they're a little immature, but they're snarky and witty, and like you said, you had a great way you were describing it. Like you can't help but like it, even though it's maybe a little tongue in cheek. I remember like one of his lyrics is like, "My tongue's the only muscle on my body that works harder than my heart," and it was like paced so well that you were like, "Oh, it's fucking clever and weird." And anyways,
a couple ways to interpret that one.
No kidding.
Hang on, before we move on, for some reason you're starting to crackle up a little bit, Chris. Are you closer to the microphone than you have been?
Hold on, just a sec. Okay. Anyway, so this album to me is like a masterpiece album. I really enjoy it. There's a couple of tracks I'll generally skip. It's the acoustic stuff, or the one that's just kind of noise. They've got one of those going on too.
Yeah, and some of the songs just sort of end with that, like 3 minutes of droney stuff.
Oh yeah, can't stand that.
Yeah,
I hate
well,
that.
what they need is some chimes, huh? Get a little chimes.
Yeah, some wind chimes.
keep your attention. How else do you know you're about to head to space, Chris?
No kidding. I always feel like the lyrics in brand new songs are really deep. Like they have some great meaning, and I think Limousine is a good example of that. I went and looked up. I sent the guys a news clip, or like it wasn't a news clip. It was a fucking somebody commenting on the story of Limousine from the singer's quotation apparently, and it was deep and scary, and you're like, woof. But when you listen to that song, I do love the change-ups on that and the build-up, and how it really changes direction fast, and the sound and production at the end, especially when it's just breaking down. Yeah. Oh my God, it's hard not to create these mental images. And I was listening to this album mourning my pops on a beach. Like I was texting Ron about this. I went up to La Push for Thanksgiving. It was the day after I got the call, and I was just on this beach listening to that, and wow, it was giving me feels. Really, really interesting track.
Yeah.
This band goes on to do a couple more albums. They did one a couple years later called Daisy, and I heard it. I fucking hated it. I gave it 3 listens, and I said, fuck this. They went in a different direction. I can't get behind this band any longer. Yeah. And that would later come around, and I would love that album. It's brilliant. It's really, it sounds a bit more Modest Mousey, if you're into Modest Mouse at all.
No, I'm not, but.
I'm not. I am not either. That's a problem with that. So, but it's great. And then they would take 8 more years before they released another album, which was maybe 6 years ago or 5 years ago at this point. That's really wonderful too. I think I don't know if they're coming back to do anymore. I think they might be done. But this band is beloved. Like they have a huge following. Really brilliant live. Like I said, 2 drummers.
They're a good band.
Yeah, I think the thing I had here noted was I think one of my last MySpace autoplay songs was the track "Jesus Christ" on this album, which is a great tune in my opinion.
They're distinct, and you remember them. They're memorable. Mm-hmm. Like I said, even though this was my 3rd attempt at the listening, it was really my first listen. I didn't get past the first couple of songs because I knew it wasn't gonna pass. But yeah, and again, I don't know that it's an album that I probably will play the album a couple more times while it's sort of in an interesting germination phase in my head, if that makes sense. But I really do. And, like John Mark, I was not expecting this album to make a whole lot of sense for me in terms of music. I don't know what preconceptions I had. And it is, like, there are things that I can put onto paper. Like, well, this does kind of remind me of that band that I don't like, or this thing that I don't like, or this genre. But ultimately, I thought that it kind of reminds me of, not musically at all, but a similar thing where it was actually you that turned me on to this band, Chris. Rise Against was a band that just sort of popped out of this era where all these bands that were either calling themselves punk or were labeled as punk were anything but. Hot Topic punk was what I called it all.
Sure,
more Disciples and the
that.
more further and further watered down Green Day, past Blink 182, and then it just seemed like everything that was coming out was just a bunch of 25-year-olds purposely singing like we're prepubescent. It's like, that's not something I'm ever going to want to hear ever. I don't get it. You kids have fun. I'm gonna go over here. But that band, it was Appeal to Reason was the album I heard. I was like, this is a fucking great album. And I still love that album. But it was a similar thing where I was like, can I like one of these neo-punk bands, one of these Hot Topic punk bands? And I don't even know if it's fair to really sum them up. I don't know a lot about Rise Against. I just know that record, it came across my radar at the right time, and it's still an important album to me. I play it quite a bit, actually. There's some songs that I specifically go out of my way to play. What's the Spin Out of Control song on that? Spin Out of Control. You know what I'm talking about?
Can't remember now.
So good.
I don't know.
It's good shit. Anyway. Similar thing where it's like, sometimes I feel like I need to give it a bit more of a chance than I normally would because I'm coming at it with some sort of preconception. And you never want to shoot yourself off in the dick when it comes to new music because you never fucking know. There are a couple Miley Cyrus songs that I love, They just, you never know.
Came a knuckle wrecking ball.
Never meant to start. Remember when I used to do it as Sasquatch, John Mark?
Chris, I have a question for Chris.
Never meant to start a war. Yeah, go ahead, John Mark.
Chris, have you ever listened to the Descendants?
Of course. Coffee mug.
Okay, I was just wondering because I was like, if you hadn't heard them, you have to listen to them. But
I like the Descendants. Yeah.
Well, what's funny about the Descendants is a lot of people, and I think probably from Chris's age group, they know like the latter incarnation of the group, but they don't necessarily know the super earlier skate stuff from like the early 80s.
Probably not.
That John Mark and I probably know, and I don't know. Like Sarah and I were talking about the Descendants at one point. She's like a huge Descendants. And I was like, how the fuck do you know the Descendants? I didn't even realize that they had played all the way over to have sort of new success in the late 90s, early 2000s or whenever.
The Fat Records era.
Yeah, I lost track of them.
The album that
80s.
I listened to the shit out of was Liveage. That was the one that was like constantly in my car, in the fucking portable stereo when we were skating the ditches and shit. It was Liveage. Yeah.
Well, that was skate rock, when we were growing up. I mean, that was like the early 80s. Milo Goes to College. And, I think the last album that I know of was I Don't Want to Grow Up, which I think was, 86, 85, 87, somewhere along that line. Must have been 86 because it was on skate rock skate videos that I was watching.
Sounds about right.
1987. So that band was, like middle-aged dudes when they were playing in front of teens in that latter part of their success. Probably Tony Hawk, Skate Pro. I got them. That got a lot of exposure to some of those skate rock bands. I think he's got the Faction on one of them. Steve Caballero's band. I know I heard the Adolescents on Tony Hawk Skate Pro, one of those ones. Pro Skater. Anyway, I'm saying it wrong. That was my first game I bought on my PlayStation 2. Was I think it was Tony Hawk 3. It was fun. It was addictive. It was hard. Good soundtrack, though.
For sure.
Well, that was fun. Thank you guys for your picks. Let's do this again. We're going to reset the dial. I think next episode, I'll I'll start it off again with my pick for, we'll still call it most underrated album because I think it plays. But an album that you motherfuckers should hear. Yeah, go ahead.
My description of that feels a little different for what I'm picking. It's more of a, I hope this is all right, but I have an album I want to share, and I have a feeling you're
cutting up quite a bit.
Hold on just a sec. Let me change them.
It was breaking up quite a bit that last segment, but it's listenable. But that one I couldn't hear you.
Better?
Spin out of good. No, hello?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. Okay. My album is more an album that I thought was going to be a huge album that just was the last great thing the band ever did and never went anywhere. It has a great little story to it. And I also think it's an album that you all will probably dislike. It's more in the vein of Isley. It's definitely...
We'll do it however you want to do it.
But that's how I'm going to do it, and we'll see how it flies. But, yeah.
Isley, interesting. Is it Paramore?
Don't fucking ruin my fucking shit.
I don't know anything about... I only know one song from Isley, and it's because... You remember back in the day? Yes, that's the one. Well, how do I know that? What's the story there?
I don't know.
Back in the day when we used to sit on opposite sides of, or you were on the other side of my cubicle, and then Nathan sat there, and we would all, we all shared each other's iTunes. I think, if I remember right, that's definitely how I came across Appeal to Reason. That must be how I came across Isley.
I just discovered them, right? Like around that time. I was like,
Periscope eyes? Or no?
Telescope
eyes.
Something like that.
Periscope eyes. Whoop and whoo. Not just up, not just out, but up and out. Okay, well, do you want me to cut that out? Is it Paramore? I'll cut that out if I did spoil it.
Not Paramore. You're fine. It's a band it's a band you've never heard of, and again,
well, that's the point.
It's maybe the first one. Yeah, this may be the first one that you're all like, but I think it's got a cute story, and I dig it. I think it's a great album.
Okay. Well, I think you guys will all like my pick. It's just a question of if it will resonate as deeply as it did with me. Yeah. It's just straight up good rock and roll. But once we get through,
will like my pick so far.
Will that be me?
My pick so far, one of you will like.
And then we'll do the same thing. We'll put a call out to y'all to do your version of most underrated album that needs to be heard by more people. But first things first, let's just get through the week, and hopefully we will be back next week with a brand new episode. Sorry for missing so many weeks. It's just life pops up as
and death occasionally.
Life and death does occasionally pop up. Good Lord, I know 5 people that died from COVID last 2 weeks. 5.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel like it's just kind of hit.
5 people.
Yeah, people I actually knew. Not super close, but they were in my world. Now they're gone. All relatively young, all anti-vaxxers. Well, one of them died with the fucking anti-vax ring around his Facebook profile picture, which is really fucking depressing to see.
Yeah, no kidding.
He was just following his heart, like a lot of people, they're following this heart. He was following the fucking pundits that they're listening to, and we all got to make the choices for ourselves that feel right, but fuck, I can't help but feel that they might still be here. And then one dude that used to be a big part of radio station died from a drug overdose. So it's been a lot of death this last couple weeks, just 2 weeks. All that to say...
Getting my booster on Sunday.
2 things. Good for you. 2 things. Get your will in order. And treat everyone around you that's important to you like you never will see them again. Because you just never know. And, it's not a thought to be morbid or moping on, sad about, but, motivation to just be a bit more in the moment, a bit more present, which is something God knows I could be way more. I could be way more present and way more available to the people that mean the world to me. And subtle reminders, because you don't want to wait until it's too late. On that heavy note, tune in next week. We'll be talking about 9/11. We'll be getting light and jiggy with it by talking about
with 9/11,
hilarious 9/11
nation's
shenanigans.
biggest tragedy. Yeah. Nothing says holiday like hijacking.
I was gonna say, it's probably best that joke trailed off, and you brought it home. Oh boy! All right, y'all. Tune in next week. We'll see you then.
Nothing says tinsel like Twin Towers. You know what I'm saying?
Oh dear.
Oh God.
Nothing says holly jolly like a jihad on the Twin Towers.
No. And nothing says hit the deck. There was something in there. I lost it. Maybe it was never there to begin with.
Hit the deck the halls.
Hit the deck the halls. Yeah, that's where I was going. All right. All in good taste.
It's been so long we can laugh about it, right, guys? Right.
Too soon?
It was so funny the other day. It's so hilarious, but it was like one of those really strange realizations the other day where I straight up said, God, can't we have a few 9/11 jokes? It's been 10 years. And I was like, holy fucking shit. It's been 2 goddamn decades.
Yeah, 20 years.
2 fucking decades. It's crazy.
I think that answers the quest.
Well, all right. Well, tune in next week, y'all. Bye.
I guess.
Bye.
Purposely singing like we're prepubescent.